Elon Musk stood at the front desk of the Waldorf Astoria, exhausted after 18 hours overseeing a SpaceX rocket test. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and he looked nothing like a billionaire who owned 12% of the hotel's parent company. "I'm sorry, sir," the night manager said politely but firmly. "We have no reservation under that name and we're completely booked." "I own part of this hotel," Elon replied calmly. The manager didn't believe him. Why would he? The man before him looked like he'd slept in his clothes. What happened next wasn't what anyone expected. Elon didn't demand to speak to a manager. He didn't threaten or make a scene. Instead, he made one phone call, sat down in the lobby, and started paying attention to things most billionaires never notice. The exhausted housekeeper finishing a double shift. The broken equipment nobody fixed. The workers who couldn't afford rent in the city where they worked. By sunrise, Elon had made promises that would change thousands of lives. By the board meeting 6 months later, he'd proven that treating workers with dignity wasn't just ethical, it was profitable. But it all started with one decision: getting denied a room and choosing to see it as an opportunity instead of an insult. This is the story of how a wrong hotel reservation sparked a revolution. The automatic doors of the Waldorf Astoria, Las Vegas whispered open at 11:47 p.m. on March 15, 2024, admitting a man who looked like he'd been awake for a week. Elon Musk stepped into the golden marble lobby wearing a wrinkled SpaceX t-shirt with a coffee stain near the collar, faded jeans with a small tear at the knee, and sneakers that had seen better days. His hair stuck up at odd angles, and dark circles shadowed his eyes like bruises. He just endured the longest day of an already brutal month. 18 hours ago, he'd been standing in the scorching heat of Boca Chica, Texas, watching Starship's latest test flight. The massive rocket had performed flawlessly for 4 minutes before a fuel valve malfunction forced an early termination. 4 minutes of perfection followed by catastrophic failure, the story of innovation in 4 acts. Then came 6 hours of emergency meetings with engineers, 2 hours reviewing failure data, and a flight to Las Vegas that should have taken 90 minutes but stretched to 3 hours thanks to a thunderstorm system that turned the sky over New Mexico into a light show of biblical proportions. His private jet had bounced through turbulence so severe that even the pilots looked shaken when they finally landed at McCarran International Airport. Elon's security detail, usually a constant presence, had stayed behind in Texas to oversee the post-flight equipment breakdown and ensure nothing walked off the launch site. They'd catch a commercial flight in the morning. For now, he was alone, which felt strange after months of being perpetually surrounded by people with earpieces and suspicious eyes. He approached the front desk where a man in his mid-30s stood reviewing something on a computer screen, his burgundy vest and crisp white shirt marking him as management. A brass nameplate read, "Derek Holloway, Night Manager." "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Waldorf Astoria." Derek's smile was professional, warm, the product of a dozen years in hospitality. "Checking in." "Yeah." Elon's voice came out rougher than intended, scraped raw from hours of shouting over rocket engines and jet turbines. "Should be under Musk." Derek's fingers danced across the keyboard, his expression shifting from welcoming to puzzled to apologetic in the span of 5 seconds. "I'm sorry, sir. Could you spell that last name for me?" "Musk Elon Musk." More typing. Derek's frown deepened. He clicked through several screens, his professionalism never wavering even as concern crept into his eyes. "I'm not finding a reservation under that name, Mr. Musk. Do you have a confirmation number?" Elon patted his pockets, then remembered his phone was at 6% battery and he'd been too fried to check email since leaving Texas. "It should be there. My assistant booked it 3 days ago." "Let me check alternative spellings and see if perhaps it was placed under a company name." Derek's fingers flew across the keys again. "Tesla, SpaceX." "Try both." Derek searched and searched. Behind Elon, the lobby hummed with the muted sounds of late-night Vegas, slot machines dinging in the distance, laughter from the bar, a couple speaking Russian as they waited for an elevator. A family with 2 sleeping children slumped in a luggage cart stood behind him, the father checking his watch with increasing impatience. "I'm terribly sorry, sir, but I'm not finding any reservation." Derek looked genuinely apologetic. and unfortunately, we're completely booked tonight. The Consumer Electronics Show has every hotel on the strip at capacity. Elon blinked, his exhausted brain struggling to process this information. CES, right, that's why he was here. He was supposed to give a presentation tomorrow morning at 8, or was it a panel discussion? The details blurred together. There has to be a mistake, Elon said, keeping his voice level. I own a significant stake in this hotel, through my investment portfolio. Derek's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a micro-expression Elon recognized from countless investor meetings. Skepticism, the polite kind, carefully hidden behind professional courtesy, but skepticism nonetheless. I understand you're frustrated, sir, Derek said, his tone gentle but firm. But I need to follow our booking protocols. Without a reservation in our system, I cannot provide a room regardless of any ownership claims. We're at 100% occupancy. I'm not claiming anything, I'm stating a fact. Elon pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over his assistant's contact before remembering the battery situation. Look, I just need a room for 6 hours. I have to speak at CES tomorrow morning. I truly wish I could help, but is there a manager I can speak to? Derek's shoulders straightened slightly. I am the night manager, sir, and I'm afraid the situation remains the same. Perhaps you could try the Bellagio or the Aria. I'd be happy to call ahead and see if they have availability. The father behind Elon cleared his throat loudly. One of his kids had woken up and started whimpering. The mother bounced the child gently, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Elon felt a dozen eyes on him now. 2 business executives in expensive suits had joined the line, both scrolling on their phones. A young couple clutching matching just married baseball caps waited patiently. And off to the side, partially hidden behind a marble column, someone had their phone raised, recording. I understand you're following protocol, Elon said, fighting to keep the frustration from his voice. But this is absurd. I literally own part of this building. Sir, I have people claiming special connections every night. I once had a man insist he was the Sultan of Brunei's cousin. Without proper verification and a reservation, my hands are tied. Derek's voice remained calm, professional, but unmovable. The Bellagio is excellent and it's only. I don't want the Bellagio. The words came out sharper than Elon intended. He took a breath, counted to 3. Sorry, long day, but I'm not leaving until this gets sorted out. Derek's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I understand you're tired, sir, but I cannot give you a room without a reservation. Perhaps you're thinking of a different hotel. It's an easy mistake when you're exhausted. That's when Elon realized what was happening. Derek didn't recognize him at all. The night manager of a luxury hotel in Las Vegas, a city that worshipped celebrity and wealth, was looking at him and seeing just another entitled guy in a dirty t-shirt making wild claims at midnight. The phone behind the column was definitely recording now. Elon could see the light, could see the woman holding it trying to be subtle and failing completely. The family's father spoke up. Are we gonna be much longer? My kids are exhausted. Just one moment, sir, Derek said apologetically. Then to Elon, I really do need to help other guests. I'm happy to provide you with phone numbers for nearby hotels with availability, but... Elon pulled out his phone. 6% battery, enough for one call. He pulled up his contact list, scrolled to a name he rarely used directly, his chief financial officer. Get me the ownership documents for the Waldorf properties, Elon said when the man answered, his voice groggy with sleep. All of them, every hotel in the chain where I hold equity. I need them in 10 minutes. Send them to this email address. He rattled off Derek's work email from the nameplate. Elon. It's almost midnight. What? 10 minutes. He ended the call. Then he walked away from the desk, crossed the lobby, and sat down in a leather chair positioned between a towering flower arrangement and a bronze sculpture of something abstract and expensive. He set his phone on the armrest, opened his laptop, and started working. Derek stood behind his desk, frozen, clearly unsure whether to call security or simply wait this out. The family checked in, the father giving Elon a curious look before shepherding his children toward the elevators. The business executives whispered to each other. The newlyweds took a selfie, the lobby's crystal chandeliers sparkling behind them, and the woman with the phone kept recording. 15 minutes passed. Derek helped other guests, periodically glancing at Elon with increasing concern. A security guard, a tall black man with a military bearing whose name tag read M. Williams, approached Derek's desk. They had a whispered conversation. Marcus Williams walked over to Elon. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to." "Marcus Williams," Elon said, not looking up from his laptop. "Former Marine, right? I can tell by your posture. Did you serve in Afghanistan?" Marcus blinked, surprised. "Iraq 2 tour, how did you?" "My brother was in the service. Different war, same bearing." Elon finally looked up. "You follow SpaceX at all?" "Are you kidding? I watch every launch. That Starship test today was incredible until..." Marcus's enthusiasm faltered. "Wait, oh shit, you're actually Elon Musk." "Yeah." "And Derek just turned you away." "Yeah." Marcus's eyes went wide. "Oh, Derek's gonna lose his job." "I hope not," Elon said honestly. "He's just doing what he was trained to do. No reservation, no room. Can't fault a guy for following the rules." He paused. "You want to hear about the Mars mission timeline? Real version, not the press release version." For the next 20 minutes, Elon sat in that lobby chair, talking with Marcus about rockets, about the challenges of reusable boosters, about what it would really take to establish a self-sustaining city on Mars. Other guests walked past, some recognizing him, others not. A couple asked for selfies, which he took. An elderly woman, Helen Rodriguez, struggled with her room key card, and Elon stood up to help her figure out which way to insert it. "Thank you, dear," she said, patting his hand. "Such a nice young man." He ordered coffee from room service. Derek had to approve the order, which created an awkward moment where their eyes met and Derek's face flushed red with dawning horror. And Elon insisted on getting coffee for Marcus and the other night staff too. At 12:47 a.m., Derek's computer pinged with an incoming email. Elon watched from across the lobby as the night manager opened it, scanned the attachments, and went completely pale. The documents showed, in irrefutable legal detail, that Elon Musk held a 12% equity stake in the Waldorf Astoria's parent company, acquired through a complex investment vehicle 3 years earlier. Derek printed the documents with shaking hands. He read them twice. Then he walked out from behind the desk, crossed the lobby, and approached Elon with the expression of a man walking to his own execution. "Mr. Musk, I am so incredibly sorry. I didn't recognize you, and I should have verified." Elon held up a hand, cutting him off. "Don't. You did your job correctly. You followed protocol. You didn't give special treatment to someone just because they made claims. That's exactly what you should have done." "But I turned away." "Someone without a reservation," which, it turns out, was correct. "My assistant screwed up. She booked me at the Bellagio, not here. I came to the wrong hotel because I'm running on 3 hours of sleep and wasn't paying attention." Derek stood there, the papers hanging limply in his hand, clearly unsure whether he was being fired or forgiven. "But now that I'm here," Elon continued, standing up and closing his laptop, "we need to talk about why this hotel has problems far worse than one denied reservation." Derek's confusion was evident. I don't understand." "The family that checked in before me. Did you see that mother's face? She looked like she'd been awake for a month. You know why?" Elon gestured toward the hallway that led to the staff areas. "Because the people who work here, the people who make this place run, are being ground into dust. And you know it. I can see it in your eyes." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Other staff members had gathered at the periphery, sensing something significant was happening. "I've been sitting here for an hour," Elon said, his voice carrying across the lobby. "Watching, listening. That room service order I placed took 35 minutes for coffee. You know why? Because you're understaffed. I heard the woman apologize to Marcus about the delay. She was almost in tears." Derek's professional mask cracked. "Just slightly, just enough. So here's what's going to happen," Elon said. "You're going to give me a tour, not of the nice parts, the real parts, the kitchens, the laundry, the places where the actual work happens. And you're going to show me why a hotel that charges $400 a night for a standard room can't afford to fix their equipment or pay their workers enough to live in this city." "Mr. Musk, it's almost 1 in the morning. I have guests too." "I'm a guest, or I would be if I had a reservation." Elon's smile was grim. Consider this my room service request, a tour right now. Derek looked at the papers in his hand, proof of ownership, proof that the disheveled man in front of him could absolutely have him fired with a single phone call. Then he looked at Marcus, who shrugged helplessly. "Okay," Derek said quietly, "but you're not going to like what you see." "Good," Elon replied. "I'm counting on it." Derek Holloway led Elon Musk through a door marked staff only at exactly 12:53 a.m., while 30 feet behind them in the glittering lobby they just left, a woman named Jennifer Pacheco uploaded a video to X with trembling fingers. The caption read, "OMG, just watched Elon Musk get DENIED a hotel room at the Waldorf. Manager had no idea who he was. This is insane. Elon Musk Waldorf Vegas." The video was 42 seconds long. It showed Derek politely but firmly explaining that there were no rooms available, Elon's increasingly frustrated responses, and ended with him sitting in the lobby chair, phone to his ear, saying, "Get me the ownership documents." Jennifer hit post, grabbed her husband's arm and whispered, "This is going to blow up." She had no idea how right she was. By 1:15 a.m. the video had 50,000 views. By 1:30 a.m. it had been retweeted by a tech journalist with 200,000 followers and picked up by 3 different Las Vegas news accounts. By 2:00 a.m. it had 800,000 views and was trending in the United States under Elon denied. At 2:17 a.m. it went global. The comments section became a battlefield within minutes. Technology enthusiasts, Musk supporters, critics, and random internet observers all weighed in with the fury and passion that only social media can generate at 2 in the morning. At Tech Bro 2024, "This is exactly why I love Elon. Dude is a billionaire and still gets treated like everyone else because he dresses normal. Legend." At Hospitality Pro, "That manager is just doing his job. You can't give away rooms to everyone who claims to be someone. He followed protocol perfectly." At Sarah in Vegas, "I was literally there. He was so nice to everyone. Helped an old lady with her room key. Bought coffee for the security guard. This video doesn't show that part." At Corporate Critic, "Cool story, but this man busts unions and treats his own workers like garbage. Don't let one viral moment make you forget that." At Justice Warrior 88, "Why does he even need a hotel room? He's worth like $200 billion. Buy a house. This is so tone deaf." The video spawned immediate reaction videos. A YouTube channel called Vegas Insider posted a 10-minute breakdown analyzing Derek's body language and Elon's microexpressions. A TikTok account with 2 million followers created a dramatic reenactment using their friends and a ring light. Someone auto-tuned the exchange and turned it into a surprisingly catchy song. By 2:45 a.m., major news outlets had picked it up. CNN's night crew scrambled to verify the footage and get a statement from Waldorf Astoria Corporate. Fox Business interrupted their regular programming to discuss what this meant for Musk's public image. BBC World Service mentioned it in their 3 a.m. news roundup. A blogger in Tokyo wrote a think piece about American celebrity culture. An economics professor in Mumbai assigned it as discussion material for her morning class on wealth inequality. The Waldorf Astoria's corporate communications office started receiving calls at 1:30 a.m. Pacific Time. By 2:00 a.m., the overnight answering service had logged 47 calls from journalists, influencers, and concerned board members. At 2:33 a.m., Patricia Chen's phone rang for the 5th time in 20 minutes. She'd been ignoring it, hoping whatever crisis was happening could wait until morning. She was the regional director of operations for Waldorf Astoria Properties in the Southwest, a position she'd fought for over 15 years of climbing the hospitality ladder, and she needed sleep before a 7 a.m. conference call about quarterly earnings. But the 6th call came from her boss's boss, which meant ignoring it was no longer an option. "Patricia, have you seen the video?" The voice belonged to Robert Martinson, Senior Vice President of the North American Division, and he sounded like he'd swallowed broken glass. "What video?" She sat up in bed, already reaching for her laptop. "Check Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it. Search Elon Musk Waldorf. I'll wait." Patricia typed with one hand while holding the phone with the other. The search results made her stomach drop through the floor. Oh my God. Yeah, oh my God is an understatement. That's Elon Musk getting turned away from our Las Vegas property. Do you know what our stock is going to do when markets open in 6 hours? Patricia watched the video 3 times in rapid succession, her marketing and PR training automatically cataloging everything wrong with this situation. The optics were terrible. A disheveled guest, even one who turned out to be a billionaire, being denied service while clearly exhausted. The other guests watching. The visible tension. And worst of all, the ending, where Elon makes that phone call with the quiet authority of someone who absolutely can and will cause problems. Who's the manager? She asked, though she already knew. She recognized Derek from the quarterly reviews. Derek Holloway, night manager. 12 years with the company, excellent performance reviews, never had a complaint. He followed protocol perfectly, Patricia said, her mind racing through damage control scenarios. No reservation, no room. That's exactly what we train them to do. I don't care if he followed the fucking Magna Carta. He turned away Elon Musk. Do you have any idea how much money Musk has invested in our parent company? Patricia pulled up the investment documents on her laptop. 12% equity stake acquired in 2021 through a complex investment vehicle. Not controlling interest, but significant, very significant. I'm looking at it now, she said. But Robert Musk came to the wrong hotel. His assistant booked him at the Bellagio. This isn't actually our fault. Try explaining that to the 17 board members who are blowing up my phone right now. Try explaining it to the shareholders when they see this video. The narrative is already written. Snooty luxury hotel turns away owner because he doesn't look rich enough. It's David and Goliath, except David is a tech billionaire and Goliath is us. Patricia was already getting dressed, laptop balanced on her dresser, phone wedged between shoulder and ear. I'm going to the property now. Where is Musk currently? According to our night shift supervisor, who I woke up 5 minutes ago, he's still in the building. He demanded a tour of the facilities. He what? You heard me. He's touring the hotel at 3 in the morning with Derek as his guide. This was spiraling out of control faster than Patricia could process. What kind of tour? The kind we don't give guests. Kitchens, laundry, maintenance. He specifically requested to see where the real work happens. I'm told he's currently in the industrial kitchen talking to a cleaning woman about oven temperatures. Patricia closed her eyes. This was worse than she'd thought. Much worse. I'm 20 minutes away. Tell security not to interfere but keep eyes on the situation. And for God's sake, tell Derek not to say anything that could make this worse. Too late for that. Someone leaked that Musk ordered coffee for the entire night staff. That's blowing up on social media too. People are calling him down to earth and relatable. Meanwhile, we look like villains. Patricia grabbed her keys and headed for the door. We're not villains. We're a business following standard operating procedures. Tell that to the internet. She made it to her car in under 2 minutes, her mind already working through crisis management protocols. Apologize publicly. Offer Musk a complimentary suite. Maybe offer to donate to one of his charities. Control the narrative before it controlled them. Her phone buzzed constantly during the drive. Text messages from colleagues, notifications from news alerts, emails from corporate. The video had been viewed 1-2 million times now. Someone had created a hashtag, Justice for Derek, defending the night manager. Someone else created Elon owns everything, mocking the billionaire class. Both were trending. A rival hotel chain's social media team had already capitalized on the moment, posting, "At the Cosmopolitan, we recognize all our guests, especially the ones who dress comfortably." Winking face, it had 50,000 likes in 30 minutes. The Waldorf Astoria's official account remained silent, which was probably smart until they had a coordinated response. But the silence was being interpreted as guilt by the mob. Patricia pulled into the hotel's executive parking at 3:17 a.m., her hair hastily pulled back, wearing yoga pants and a blazer that didn't match, the uniform of a crisis manager called in after midnight. She speed-walked through the employee entrance, past startled night staff who'd clearly already heard about the situation. The lobby was quieter than usual for a Friday night in Vegas, Or rather, it was physically quiet but electrically charged. Every employee she passed had their phone out. Some were watching the video, others were texting. A housekeeper showed her screen to a valet, both shaking their heads in disbelief. Marcus Williams, the security guard, spotted her first. "Ms. Chen, he's in the back." "With Derek and Maria." "Maria Santos, from housekeeping." "Yes, ma'am. They're in the industrial kitchen. He's been asking a lot of questions." Patricia's heels clicked against marble as she walked toward the staff areas, her mind racing through possible approaches. Apologize profusely. Play it cool and professional. Offer compensation. Fire Derek to appease Musk, even though Derek had done nothing wrong. No, she wouldn't fire Derek. Whatever happened, she wouldn't sacrifice a good employee for following the rules. She pushed through the door marked "Staff Only" and followed the sound of voices down a concrete hallway that smelled of industrial cleaner and old grease. The hallway that guests never saw, where the paint was beige instead of gold, where the floors were practical linoleum instead of Italian marble. She found them in the main kitchen. Elon Musk sat on a stainless steel counter, long legs dangling, eating what appeared to be a sandwich made from kitchen leftovers. Derek stood nearby, looking exhausted and terrified in equal measure. And Maria Santos, a woman in her late 40s with gray streaks in her black hair and calluses on her hands, was explaining something while gesturing at the industrial ovens. "Haven't worked properly in 6 months," Maria was saying in accented English, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd repeated this complaint many times to people who didn't listen. "We submit the maintenance requests, but nothing happens. So we work around it. We always work around it." Elon nodded, typing notes on his phone. "What's your hourly wage, Maria?" $12.50. I've been here 6 years. "And Vegas rent averages what? $1,800 for a 2-bedroom. "If you're lucky, I share an apartment with my sister and her family, 6 of us in 2 bedrooms. Maria's voice held no self-pity, just facts. "My daughter, Isabella, she's 14, so smart, wants to be an engineer like you, but I don't know how we're going to afford college." That's when Patricia cleared her throat. All 3 of them turned. Derek's face went even paler, if that was possible. Maria quickly stepped back, suddenly nervous, but Elon just looked at Patricia with those intense eyes that had stared down Tesla short sellers and NASA bureaucrats and didn't blink. "Ms. Chen," Derek said weakly, "I can explain." Elon held up a hand, cutting him off. "Don't. Derek didn't do anything wrong. If anyone needs to explain, it's you." Patricia straightened her spine, calling on every ounce of executive presence she'd cultivated over 15 years. "Mr. Musk, I apologize profusely for the confusion tonight. If you'll allow me to." "Stop," Elon said quietly. The word carried unexpected weight. "Before you apologize, before you offer me a free suite or whatever crisis management playbook you're running, I need you to answer one question honestly." Patricia waited, her heart hammering. "How long have you known that the equipment back here was broken? That your workers were making $1,250 an hour in a city where they can't afford to live? That maintenance requests were being ignored?" He gestured around the kitchen, at the patched floor, the flickering lights, the ovens held together with what appeared to be duct tape and prayer. "How long?" The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Derek stared at the floor. Maria looked between them nervously, and Patricia Chen, regional director of operations, realized that this moment would define either her career's greatest success or its most spectacular failure. "I've known there were issues," she said carefully, "but the corporate budget constraints." "That's not an answer, that's an excuse." Elon slid off the counter, landing lightly despite his exhaustion. "You've known. You've filed it away as operational challenges or workforce optimization or whatever sanitized corporate term makes it easier to sleep at night, but you've known." Patricia felt something crack inside her, maybe her carefully constructed professional armor, maybe just her exhaustion catching up. "Yes, I've known, we all know, but I don't make the budget decisions. I implement policy from corporate. I do my job." So did Derek. He did his job tonight, followed the rules perfectly, and look where it got him, viral internet fame and probably an ulcer. Elon's voice wasn't angry. Somehow that made it worse. "The question is, what are we going to do about it?" We? Patricia heard herself say. Yeah, we, because here's the thing, I didn't want to be here tonight. I wanted to be asleep in whatever hotel my assistant actually booked me at. But I came to the wrong place, got denied a room, and ended up sitting in your lobby for an hour watching how this place really works. And you know what I saw? He gestured at Derek, a guy doing his job with integrity, even when it might cost him. A security guard who loves space exploration but probably can't afford to take his kids to the Air and Space Museum. A woman who's worked here 6 years and still can't afford a decent apartment. His gesture swept the kitchen. And a system that extracts maximum profit while giving minimum support to the people who make that profit possible. Maria had tears in her eyes. Derek looked like he might throw up. And Patricia Chen felt the full weight of every compromise she'd made, every budget cut she'd justified, every maintenance request she'd marked low priority to hit quarterly numbers. So here's what's going to happen, Elon said, pulling out his phone. I'm calling an emergency meeting, all overnight staff, right now. And you're going to listen to what they have to say about working here. Really listen. Not the corporate listening where you nod and take notes and nothing changes. The kind of listening that leads to action. Patricia's phone buzzed. Another news alert. The video was at 2-3 million views now. Someone had created a Wikipedia page for the Waldorf incident. A late-night talk show had already written jokes about it for Monday's taping. But looking at Maria's hopeful face, at Derek's exhausted relief that maybe, just maybe, someone with power actually cared, Patricia made a decision that would either save her career or end it. Okay, she said. Let's have that meeting. Elon smiled for the first time that night. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who just found a problem worth solving. Good, because what I'm about to propose is going to make your board members very uncomfortable. And honestly, he pulled up his contacts, thumb hovering over his CFO's number again. I'm counting on it. Derek's eyes went wide. Maria gasped softly. And Patricia Chen, despite every instinct screaming at her to manage this situation carefully, felt something unexpected: hope. The video had 28 million views when Elon made the call. By morning, it would have 20 million, but the real story, the one that would change everything, was just beginning. At 3:47 a.m., 23 members of the Waldorf Astoria's overnight staff gathered in a conference room that smelled of stale coffee and broken dreams. They came in their work uniforms, housekeeping smocks, kitchen whites, maintenance coveralls, valet jackets. They came confused, nervous, some terrified they were about to be fired for something they didn't know they'd done wrong. Maria Santos sat in the front row, hands folded in her lap, fingers twisted together so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Next to her sat James Park, the maintenance supervisor, a Korean-American man in his 50s with grease stains on his coveralls and the tired eyes of someone who'd spent too many years watching things fall apart. Derek Holloway stood against the back wall, still in his burgundy vest, looking like a man waiting for execution. Marcus Williams sat near the door, his military posture somehow both alert and exhausted. Patricia Chen stood at the front of the room with Elon Musk beside her, and the cognitive dissonance of seeing a tech billionaire in a wrinkled SpaceX t-shirt next to a hotel executive in mismatched business casual would have been funny under different circumstances. Thank you all for coming, Patricia began, her voice carrying the practiced calm of someone who'd run 1,000 meetings. I know this is unusual. Let me, Elon interrupted gently. He stepped forward and every eye in the room locked onto him. Some recognized him immediately. Others were clearly trying to place where they'd seen this disheveled man before. My name is Elon Musk. Some of you might know me from Tesla or SpaceX tonight. I came to this hotel by accident. Wrong reservation, long story. And your night manager, Derek, very correctly refused to give me a room because I didn't have a booking. A few people glanced at Derek, who looked like he wanted to melt into the wall. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, followed the rules, treated me like any other guest. Elon paused, looking around the room at faces weathered by night shifts and double overtime and wages that never quite stretched far enough. But while I was sitting in your lobby waiting for my assistant to send proof that I own part of this place, I started paying attention, really paying attention. And I saw things that made me angry, not at Derek for doing his job, not at any of you, but at a system that's fundamentally broken. A woman in housekeeping uniform, her name tag read Diane Chen, no relation to Patricia, raised her hand tentatively. Are we in trouble? No, Elon said firmly. You're not in trouble, but this hotel is. And I want to understand exactly how broken things are before we fix them. So I'm going to ask questions and I need you to answer honestly. No sugarcoating. No telling me what you think I want to hear, just truth. He looked at James Park. Your maintenance, right? The guy who keeps everything running. James nodded slowly. Maintenance supervisor, 15 years. Derek mentioned you've been submitting repair requests that get ignored. Tell me about that. James glanced at Patricia, clearly weighing career survival against honesty. Elon caught the look. She can't fire you for telling the truth. Not tonight, I promise you that. Elon's voice carried absolute certainty. And if she tries, you'll have a job at Tesla by Monday morning. So talk to me. The room went silent. This was a test, everyone could feel it. James Park took a deep breath. The industrial dryers in the laundry have been broken for 8 months, he said quietly. I've submitted 6 work orders. Each one gets marked approved pending budget review and then nothing happens. So my team manually wrings out sheets and towels. Takes 3 times as long. We're running 2 people short because turnover is so high, so everyone works double shifts to compensate. Why is turnover high? Because we pay $13 an hour for backbreaking work in 110-degree heat, in a city where you can make $15 at McDonald's with air conditioning. Elon typed notes on his phone. What else? The walk-in freezer has a faulty seal. Runs constantly, wastes electricity, barely keeps temperature. I've requested replacement parts 4 times. Still waiting. James's voice grew stronger, years of frustration finally finding an outlet. The HVAC system for the employee break rooms hasn't worked in 2 years. In summer, it hits 95 degrees in there. We eat lunch sweating through our uniforms. The guest rooms have perfect climate control though, right? Of course, guests pay $400 a night. We're just workers. The bitterness in those last words hung heavy. Other staff members nodded. Someone whispered agreement. Elon turned to Maria. You mentioned making $1,250 an hour. How many hours a week do you work? 45 to 50. They keep us just under full-time so they don't have to provide benefits. Maria's voice shook slightly. I've been here 6 years. Started at $1,150, got 2 raises, a quarter each time. Do you have health insurance? No, too expensive. When my daughter got sick last year with pneumonia, I paid $3,000 I didn't have, still making payments. A young man in a valet uniform spoke up without being asked. His name tag read Carlos Mendez. I got written up last month for accepting a $50 tip from a guest. Company policy says anything over $20 has to be reported and pooled. But the manager who wrote me up, he pockets $100 handshakes from high rollers all the time. We all see it. Who's the manager? Patricia asked sharply, her executive instincts kicking in. Carlos hesitated. I don't want to. Name, Elon said simply. No retaliation, you have my word. Gerald Stephenson, day shift floor manager. Patricia's jaw tightened. She knew Gerald. Smooth talker, great with VIP guests, always hit his numbers. She'd never looked deeper. Anyone else have issues with Gerald? Elon asked. 5 hands went up. For the next 40 minutes, the floodgates opened. Stories poured out, some angry, some sad, all true. Diane from housekeeping described being scheduled for 6 consecutive closing to opening shifts, giving her 5 hours between shifts to sleep, commute, and see her kids. A kitchen worker named Ramon talked about the ancient dishwasher that leaked and had given him electrical shocks twice, yet still wasn't replaced. A front desk agent named Yuki explained how they were pressured to upsell guests to premium rooms, with bonuses for managers but nothing for the agents doing the actual selling. Marcus Williams, the security guard, finally spoke up. I'm former military, did 2 tours in Iraq. And I've got to say, the equipment we have here is worse than what we had in a combat zone. Our radios barely work. Half the security cameras are dead. I've filed reports about blind spots in the parking garage where assaults have happened. Nothing changes. Corporate says it's not in the budget. But you're protecting guests worth millions, Elon said. with equipment worth dozens. Marcus's laugh was bitter. Last month we had a domestic disturbance in a suite. I called for backup on my radio. It didn't work. Had to use my personal cell phone. By the time help arrived, the situation had escalated. Someone could have died because we're too cheap to buy $200 radios. Patricia Chen stood frozen, watching her entire operation get dissected. Part of her wanted to defend, to explain the budget pressures and corporate mandates. But a larger part, the part that had gotten into hospitality because she actually cared about people, felt ashamed. James Park wasn't done. You want to know the real joke? This hotel makes millions in profit every quarter. I've seen the revenue reports when I'm fixing computers in accounting. Millions. But we can't afford $5,000 to fix dryers. Can't afford $300 to replace a freezer seal. Can't afford to pay the people who make those millions enough to live on. What's the turnover rate? Elon asked Patricia directly. She pulled out her phone, accessing HR data she'd reviewed just last week. 67% annually for non-management positions. 67%, Elon repeated slowly. Do you know what that costs? Recruitment, training, productivity loss. It's probably more expensive than just paying people properly in the first place. Corporate sets the wage scales, Patricia said, but even she heard how weak it sounded. And you implement them. You have quarterly calls with board members, right? You report these numbers. Do you ever tell them the real cost of high turnover? Or do you just report that you're hitting budget targets? The accusation landed like a physical blow. Patricia felt every eye in the room on her. I tell them we have retention challenges, she said quietly. That's corporate speak for our workers are miserable and leaving. But it sounds better in a PowerPoint, doesn't it? Maria Santos surprised everyone by standing up. Her voice cracked with emotion. I love this job. I love making rooms beautiful for guests. I take pride in my work. But I'm tired. I'm so tired. I work 50 hours a week and still can't afford to take my daughter to a movie. Can't afford new shoes when hers wear out. Can't afford to break down or get sick because I have no safety net. Tears ran down her face. My Isabella, she's so smart, straight A's, wants to study aerospace engineering. But I can't afford college, can barely afford school supplies. And she sees me come home exhausted every night, sees me choose between groceries and electric bill, and I know she's thinking college isn't for people like us. The room had gone completely silent. Several people were crying. Elon walked over to Maria and did something unexpected. He hugged her. Not a corporate pat on the back, but a real embrace. Your daughter wants to study aerospace engineering. Maria nodded against his shoulder. What's her name? Isabella Santos. Elon pulled back, hands on Maria's shoulders, looking her directly in the eyes. I'm going to make you a promise right now, Maria. Isabella is going to college, full ride, 4 years, all expenses. And when she graduates, if she wants it, she has a job at SpaceX. Maria's knees buckled. Marcus jumped up to catch her. She was sobbing, great heaving sobs that contained 6 years of exhaustion and worry and hope deferred. You can't do that, Patricia heard herself say. That's not. You can't just. I am. Consider it done. Elon turned back to the room. Anyone else here have kids who want to go to college but can't afford it? 12 hands went up. Send me their information. Grades, transcripts, what they want to study. If they're serious students, we'll figure it out. Derek spoke from the back of the room, his voice rough. Mr. Musk, with respect, throwing money at individual problems doesn't fix the system. Everyone turned to stare at him. Patricia tensed, certain Derek had just committed career suicide by challenging a billionaire. But Elon smiled. You're absolutely right, which is why we're not stopping there. He checked his phone. 4:47 a.m. I'm scheduled to speak at CES in 3 hours. I'm going to cancel that. Instead, I'm staying here. We're going to tour every inch of this hotel. Not the guest areas. I want to see the employee break rooms, the locker rooms, the places where you actually work. I want to see the broken equipment, the safety hazards, everything. He looked at Patricia. And you're coming with us, because by the time the sun comes up, you and I are going to have a very detailed list of everything that needs to change. And then we're going to change it. The board won't approve. I own 12% of the parent company. That gives me certain leverage. And if they won't approve it, I'll buy out enough shares to make them approve it. Elon's voice carried steel wrapped in casual certainty. This isn't a request, Patricia. This is happening. The only question is whether you're going to help or hinder. Patricia Chen stood at a crossroads. She could fight this, could call corporate, could try to manage Elon and contain the damage. She could protect her career and the status quo, or she could do what she'd gotten into hospitality to do in the first place, actually help people. I'll help, she said, but I need one thing from you. What? When we make these changes, not if, when, I need you to help me prove to the board that treating workers well is good business. Not charity, not PR, good business. Because if we can't prove that, these changes die the moment you leave. Elon considered this. Deal. We'll run it like an experiment, measure everything. Turnover, productivity, customer satisfaction, profitability. We'll prove that human decency is also financially smart. Then let's start the tour, Patricia said. James, show us the laundry room. I want to see these dryers. As the group filed out of the conference room, Maria grabbed Elon's hand. Thank you, she whispered. You don't know what this means. I do actually. My mother raised me and my brother alone, worked multiple jobs. I watched her struggle. Elon's voice was soft. I swore that if I ever had the power to help people like her, I would. Tonight, I have that chance. The tour began in the basement laundry facility, where the air hung thick and wet at 89 degrees despite the 4 a.m. hour. Industrial washers rumbled against walls while 3 workers, 2 women and a man, manually wrung water from soaked sheets using a process that looked medieval. This is how we've been doing it since March, James explained, gesturing at the broken dryers. These machines are from 2008. Parts aren't even manufactured anymore. I've been requesting replacements since they broke. Each dryer costs about $12,000. We need 4. That's $48,000 total. Elon did quick math on his phone. This hotel grossed $47 million last year, according to public filings. You're telling me they can't find $48,000 to replace critical equipment? The budget is allocated at the start of each fiscal year, Patricia explained. Major capital expenses have to be approved quarters in advance. By the time we realized the dryers were beyond repair, we'd missed the window for this year's budget. So you just suffer until next year's budget cycle. We make do. Elon watched the workers wringing sheets, their hands red and raw, backs bent at angles that would cause permanent damage over time. He pulled out his phone and made a call despite the early hour. Yeah, it's me. I need 4 commercial dryers delivered to the Waldorf Astoria in Las Vegas. Today, by noon, top of the line, most energy-efficient model available. I don't care if it's Saturday. Figure it out. Call every supplier in Nevada if you have to. Budget is irrelevant. Just make it happen. He ended the call and turned to the stunned workers. New dryers will be here by lunch. You won't wring another sheet. One of the women started crying. They moved to the employee break room next. Marcus hadn't exaggerated. The HVAC was completely dead, and even in the early morning cool, the room was stuffy and uncomfortable. The microwave had a handwritten broken sign taped to it. The refrigerator hummed ominously and smelled like something had died inside it months ago. The vending machine had an out-of-order notice dated 3 weeks prior. This is where you take lunch, Elon asked. When we have time for lunch, Diane from housekeeping answered. Most days we eat standing up in the hallway, faster that way. The employee lockers were worse. Rusty, dented, many with broken locks. Workers kept their valuables on their person because the lockers weren't secure. The shower facilities for staff who biked to work were moldy and had water pressure issues. The bathroom had one stall with a door that didn't lock. Meanwhile, 50 feet above their heads, guests enjoyed marble bathrooms, rainfall showers, premium toiletries, and climate-controlled comfort worth $400 per night. The mechanical room revealed safety hazards that made Elon's engineering background scream in protest. Exposed wiring, outdated circuit breakers, a boiler system that James admitted was temperamental at best, explosive at worst. Has OSHA inspected this? Elon asked. 3 years ago, we got cited for minor violations, fixed those specific issues and nothing else. James pointed to a patch job on some electrical conduit. This was their fix. Slap some tape on it and call it compliant. By 6:15 a.m., they toured the kitchen, where the oven issues Maria mentioned were even worse than described. The loading dock, where workers unloaded supply trucks in 115-degree summer heat with no shade or water station. And the parking garage, where Marcus showed them the dead security cameras and broken lighting. Elon's Notes app had 12 pages of documented problems. Patricia's face had gone from defensive to horrified to grimly determined. She'd worked in hospitality for 15 years and somehow had never really seen this. Or maybe she'd trained herself not to see it. Corporate advancement meant learning to look at spreadsheets instead of people, to see labor costs instead of human beings. They ended up back in the conference room as dawn light started filtering through the windows. The Las Vegas Strip was winding down from Friday night excess, early morning joggers appearing on sidewalks, the city preparing to reset for another day. Elon stood at the front of the room with Patricia beside him, facing the exhausted overnight staff who'd given up their break time for this tour. "Here's what's going to happen," Elon said. "I'm going to make some announcements. They're going to sound crazy. Patricia is going to want to tell me they're impossible. But I need you all to understand something. I've built electric cars when everyone said it was impossible. I've landed rockets on floating platforms when aerospace engineers said it defied physics. I've done a lot of impossible things. Treating workers with dignity and paying them properly is not impossible. It's basic human decency." He looked at his phone, organizing his thoughts. First, immediate wage increases. Effective Monday, minimum wage for all Waldorf Las Vegas employees is $22 per hour. That includes housekeeping, kitchen staff, maintenance, everyone. No exceptions. Gasps rippled through the room. Maria covered her mouth. Second, full health care for all employees, including mental health coverage. No waiting periods, no part-time exclusions. You work here, you're covered. More gasps. Diane was crying. Third, a childcare subsidy program. $500 per month per child for any employee with kids under 12. I've watched too many of you struggle with childcare costs that eat entire paychecks. Patricia grabbed the table for support. Fourth, equipment repairs and upgrades start Monday. New dryers arrive today. Everything else, HVAC appliances, safety equipment, gets fixed properly within 30 days, not patched, fixed. James Park stood up without realizing it, his hands shaking. Fifth, employee break rooms get completely renovated. Real comfortable furniture, working appliances, climate control, even a TV and decent coffee. You deserve a proper place to rest. Sixth, profit sharing. Anyone who works here longer than 1 year gets a percentage of hotel profits. Your work generates millions. You should share in that success. The room erupted. People were crying, hugging, some just sitting in stunned silence. Derek Holloway, still standing in the back, raised his hand. "Mr. Musk, these changes will cost millions. The board will never approve this." "Which brings me to my final announcement," Elon said. "Derek, you're promoted. As of now, you're Director of Staff Experience for all Waldorf properties in North America. Your job is to implement these changes everywhere, not just Vegas. You'll report directly to Patricia." Derek's mouth fell open. What? You followed the rules even when it cost you. You care about doing things right. That's who I need leading this. Starting salary is $95,000 plus benefits. Do you accept?" Derek looked like he might faint. Yes, absolutely." "Maria," Elon continued, "you're promoted to head of the new hospitality training program. You'll teach new hires the standards we're setting. $28 an hour plus that scholarship for Isabella. Sound good?" Maria couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming. "James, you're now Chief of Facilities Innovation. Your job is to make sure every property is safe, efficient, and treats workers right. Budget is $15 million to start, just for Vegas. Salary is $110,000 interested." James found his voice. Yes, thank you, I don't know what to say." "Don't thank me, just do the work." Elon turned to Patricia. "You have 90 days to implement these changes across all properties or resign. Choose." Patricia Chen, regional director who'd climbed the ladder by following corporate playbooks and maximizing quarterly profits, stood at a crossroads. She could refuse, could quit, could call corporate and fight this hostile takeover by a billionaire with unconventional ideas. Or she could do something she'd stopped doing years ago, actually give a damn about the people who worked for her. "I'll do it," she said, "but I need your help. The board will fight this. They'll say it's not sustainable, not profitable, not how business is done." "Then we prove them wrong," Elon said. "We measure everything, document the improvements, show that happy workers mean better service means happier guests mean more revenue. We make the business case for humanity." He checked his phone, 7:23 a.m. "I need to make a call. Patricia, get corporate on the line. Tell them I'm coming to the board meeting next month. Tell them we're making some changes. And tell them if they don't like it, I'm prepared to buy controlling interest in the company. I wasn't planning to own a hotel chain, but I've made worse impulse purchases." As the staff filed out, energized despite their exhaustion, Marcus Williams approached Elon. "Sir, the media is gathering outside. That video from last night has 20 million views. Everyone wants a statement." Elon smiled grimly. "Good, I have a lot to say. But first," he turned to the remaining people in the room, Patricia, Derek, Maria, and James. "First, I need to tell you why I was really in Vegas last night, and it has nothing to do with CES." They all looked at him, confused. "There's a 12-year-old kid in a hospital 15 minutes from here named Kai Chen. He has bone cancer. He sent me a message yesterday asking if I could visit before his surgery this weekend. I came to Vegas to spend time with him, not to give some tech conference speech." Elon's voice softened. "Kai asked me what I would change about the world if I could. I didn't have an answer then, but sitting in your lobby last night, seeing all of you, I found it." He gestured around the room at the people whose lives had just changed. "I'd make sure people who work hard get treated with dignity. I'd make sure single mothers like Maria can afford to give their kids opportunities. I'd make sure the system works for everyone, not just the people at the top." He paused. "And now I actually get to do that. So thank you, Derek, for denying me that room. Best thing that could have happened." Derek laughed through tears. "You're welcome." "Now," Elon said, heading toward the door, "let's go talk to the media. Time to tell them this story isn't about a billionaire getting denied a hotel room. It's about what happens when someone with power decides to actually use it for something good." As they walked toward the front entrance where satellite news trucks were gathering and reporters were prepping for live broadcasts, Maria grabbed Elon's arm one more time. "My Isabella," she said, "when you meet her, will you tell her that girls from families like ours can be engineers? That we belong in those rooms too?" Elon stopped walking. He looked at Maria, really looked at her, seeing his own mother's struggles reflected back. "I'll do better than that," he said. "I'll prove it." The media circus outside the Waldorf Astoria, Las Vegas at 7:47 a.m. on March 16, 2024 was unlike anything the hotel had ever seen. 17 news vans lined the circular driveway. Satellite dishes pointed skyward like flowers seeking sun. Reporters from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, BBC, Al Jazeera, and a dozen local stations jockeyed for position. Camera operators tested angles. Producers barked into headsets. The viral video had done its work. This was now a global story. Inside, just beyond the gilded entrance doors, Elon Musk stood with Patricia Chen, Derek Holloway, Maria Santos, and James Park. Through the glass, they could see the mob of journalists, the boom microphones, the cameras already rolling in anticipation. "You don't have to do this," Patricia said to the workers. "I can handle the media." "No," Maria said firmly, surprising everyone including herself. "People need to see us, need to hear from us. We're not just numbers on a spreadsheet." Elon nodded approvingly. "Maria's right. This story isn't about me, it's about all of you." He looked at Derek. "You ready to become famous for doing your job correctly?" Derek straightened his burgundy vest, still wrinkled from the all-night shift. "I've been awake for 26 hours and probably look like death. But yes, let's do this." They pushed through the doors together. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Reporters surged forward like a wave, voices overlapping in a cacophony of shouted questions. "Mr. Musk, what happened last night? Elon, are you suing the hotel? Mr. Musk, is it true you were denied a room at your own property? Derek Holloway, how does it feel to turn away a billionaire? Is this a publicity stunt? Elon raised his hands, and the crowd gradually quieted. The morning sun caught his exhausted features, making him look simultaneously haggard and somehow more human than his usual polished public appearances. "I'll make a statement, then we'll take a few questions," he said. His voice carried across the driveway without a microphone. Years of speaking to auditoriums and factory floors had taught him projection. "Last night, I came to this hotel by mistake. My reservation was actually at the Bellagio. The night manager, Derek Holloway, correctly refused to give me a room because I had no reservation, and the hotel was fully booked. He did exactly what he was trained to do: follow protocol, treat everyone equally, maintain professional standards even when someone makes claims of ownership or importance." He paused, letting that sink in. Derek didn't recognize me because I showed up looking like I'd slept in my clothes, which I basically had. And you know what? That's how it should be. The rules shouldn't bend because someone is rich or famous. Derek showed integrity. In most companies, that would get you fired. In this company, as of about 2 hours ago, it got him promoted. Murmurs rippled through the press corps. Cameras swiveled to Derek, who stood frozen like a deer in headlights. "But this story isn't about a denied hotel room," Elon continued. "It's about what I saw while I was sitting in that lobby for an hour. It's about a system that's broken on a fundamental level. And it's about what happens when someone with resources decides to actually fix it instead of just complaining." He gestured to Maria. "This is Maria Santos. She's worked at this hotel for 6 years, cleaning rooms, making beds, ensuring guests have a perfect experience. She was making $1,250 an hour in a city where average rent is $1,800 a month. She shares a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people. Her daughter wants to be an aerospace engineer, but Maria couldn't see how to afford college." Maria stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. A reporter from Univision pushed a microphone toward her. "I never thought anyone would hear my story," Maria said in accented English, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. "I am invisible. We are all invisible. The people who clean your rooms, cook your food, fix the things that break. Nobody sees us. Nobody asks how we survive on these wages. They just want clean sheets and hot food and don't think about the humans providing it." Her eyes met the camera directly. "My daughter Isabella is 14, straight A's. She watches SpaceX launches and builds model rockets from YouTube videos. But I have been telling her to be realistic, to think about community college maybe, to not dream too big because we cannot afford big dreams. And last night this man," she gestured to Elon, "he listened, really listened. Not like a boss listening to complain and forget, like a person listening to another person." A reporter from CNN spoke up. "Mr. Musk, are you saying the hotel was mistreating its workers?" "I'm saying the entire hospitality industry has normalized poverty wages and called it business," Elon replied. "I'm saying that workers who generate millions in revenue deserve to share in that success. I'm saying that broken equipment that makes jobs harder and less safe should be replaced immediately, not deferred until next fiscal year's budget cycle." "What specific changes are you implementing?" asked a Fox Business reporter. Elon pulled out his phone, reading from his notes. "Immediate minimum wage increase to $22 an hour for all employees. Full health care including mental health coverage. Childcare subsidies. Profit sharing for workers with over 1 year of tenure. Complete equipment repairs and safety upgrades within 30 days. Renovation of all employee facilities to actually livable standards." These changes start Monday at the Vegas property and will roll out to all Waldorf properties within 90 days. The reporters erupted again. This was bigger news than a denied hotel room. This was a story about labor, wealth inequality, corporate responsibility, all the hot-button issues that drove news cycles. A young journalist from a tech blog shouted over the noise. "How much will this cost? What's the financial impact?" "Initial investment across all properties will be approximately $500 million, Elon said calmly, as if discussing pocket change. "Annual ongoing costs will increase labor expenses by roughly 15%. But here's the thing nobody wants to talk about. High turnover is expensive. Recruitment, training, productivity loss, poor service leading to bad reviews. These all cost money. This hotel had 67% annual turnover in non-management positions. That's insane and unsustainable. Patricia Chen stepped forward, and Elon yielded the metaphorical microphone to her. She looked every inch the corporate executive despite her mismatched emergency outfit. "I've been in hospitality management for 15 years, Patricia said, and I'm ashamed to say I've spent most of that time looking at spreadsheets instead of people. We measure occupancy rates and revenue per available room and labor costs as percentages. We don't measure the human cost of our business model." That changes now. She pulled out her own phone, displaying data. "We're going to run this as a controlled experiment. We'll measure everything: employee retention, customer satisfaction scores, productivity metrics, revenue impact, profitability. We're going to prove that treating workers well isn't charity. It's smart business." James Park spoke next, his maintenance coveralls still stained with grease from the overnight repairs. "I have an engineering degree from Stanford," he said, and several reporters' eyebrows shot up. "I graduated in 2008, right into the recession. Couldn't find engineering work. Took a maintenance job here to pay bills. 15 years later, I'm still here because the economy recovered, but I never could afford to go back to school or take the risk of career change." He held up his phone, showing photos from their pre-dawn tour. "These pictures show broken equipment, safety hazards, working conditions that would shock most people. And this is a luxury hotel. Imagine what it's like at budget properties. The problem isn't just here, it's everywhere. But for the first time in 15 years, someone with power actually listened when I explained the problems, and more than that, gave me the authority and budget to fix them." The story was evolving in real time. News producers were already updating their angles, their headlines shifting from "billionaire denied hotel room" to "Musk announces major hospitality worker reforms" to "inside the broken system, hotel workers speak out." A reporter from the Las Vegas Review-Journal asked, "What about other hotel chains? Will they follow suit?" "They should," Elon said bluntly. "Competition should improve everyone's practices. If Waldorf Properties can prove that higher wages and better conditions lead to better business outcomes, other chains will have to adapt or lose workers to us. That's how markets are supposed to work, competition driving improvement." Derek finally found his voice. "I want to say something," he announced, and the cameras swiveled back to him. "I've been a night manager for 8 years. I've filed reports about equipment failures, safety concerns, understaffing issues. I've watched good people burn out and quit because they couldn't survive on what we paid them. I've seen single mothers work double shifts and still struggle to feed their kids. And every time I reported these issues to corporate, I got the same response: budget constraints, fiscal responsibility, next quarter's review." His voice grew stronger, years of suppressed frustration finally finding release. "But here's what they never acknowledged: we weren't being fiscally responsible. We were being morally bankrupt. And it was killing morale, destroying retention, and creating a workplace culture built on the premise that workers are disposable. That changes now. And if I have anything to say about it as the new director of staff experience, it changes everywhere." The applause started with Maria, then spread to the handful of hotel workers who gathered to watch the spectacle. Within seconds, even some reporters were clapping, a breach of journalistic objectivity that spoke to how the narrative had shifted. A satellite phone rang. Patricia answered, listened for 30 seconds, and her face went pale. She walked over to Elon and whispered urgently, "That was corporate. The board is demanding an emergency meeting. They're threatening to block all of this." Elon smiled, not a happy smile, but the smile of someone who'd anticipated this exact move. "Tell them I'll be at their meeting, and tell them to have their lawyers review my equity stake very carefully before they make any threats." He turned back to the reporters. "The board of Waldorf's parent company is apparently upset about my announcements. They think I'm overstepping. They think these changes are fiscally irresponsible. They're wrong, and I'm going to prove it. But if they want to fight me on this, I'm prepared to buy enough additional shares to have controlling interest. I wasn't planning to own a hotel chain, but I've made worse impulse purchases." He grinned. "Anyone remember when I bought Twitter?" Laughter rippled through the crowd. The reference to his controversial $44 billion acquisition of the social media platform hung in the air, a reminder that Elon Musk absolutely would follow through on what sounded like an idle threat. A reporter shouted, "Are you serious about buying the whole company?" "I'm serious about keeping my promises to these workers," Elon replied. "If that requires buying the company, then yes, I'm serious. I've spent $44 billion on worse ideas." More laughter, but with an edge of nervousness. Markets were opening in 90 minutes. Waldorf's parent company stock was about to get very interesting. Maria's phone rang, an old flip phone that barely worked. She answered, listened, and her hand flew to her mouth. "Isabella," she said. "My daughter. She saw the news. She's asking if this is real, if she can really go to college." Elon took the phone from Maria's shaking hand. "Isabella, this is Elon Musk. Is your mom telling the truth about your grades? Straight A's, that's what I thought. And you want to study aerospace engineering. Perfect. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to keep getting those straight A's. You're going to apply to MIT, Caltech, Stanford, wherever you want. And when you get accepted, not if, when, it's fully paid for. For years, everything covered. And after you graduate, if you want it, you have a job at SpaceX working on rockets for real, not just models. You're crying, I can hear it. It's okay to cry. Your mom's crying too. Actually, everyone here is crying. It's been an emotional morning." He handed the phone back to Maria, who clutched it like a lifeline while talking to her daughter in rapid Spanish, words tumbling over each other in joy and disbelief. The media was eating it up. This was human interest gold. The cameras captured every tear, every embrace, every moment of genuine emotion that was so rare in carefully orchestrated press conferences. Then something unexpected happened. A woman pushed through the crowd of reporters, not a journalist, but a hotel housekeeper still in uniform. Her name tag read Sandra Miller Bellagio. She was crying. "Mr. Musk," she called out. "I work at the Bellagio. I make $13 an hour. I have 3 kids. I heard about what you're doing and I need you to know what this means. It's not just Waldorf workers suffering, it's all of us. Every hotel on this strip. We're all struggling." Elon walked over to her, past security, past reporters, and took her hand. "What's your name?" Sandra Miller." "Sandra, I can't fix every hotel in Vegas today, but I can start a conversation. I can show other companies that there's a better way. And I can prove that taking care of workers is good for everyone, workers, companies, customers, communities. Will you help me?" "Hell, tell your story, right here, right now. Let these cameras see what the reality is for hospitality workers across this city." Sandra looked terrified but determined. She turned to face the cameras, this unexpected participant in a press conference that had already gone wildly off script. "I've worked at the Bellagio for 11 years, Sandra said, her voice shaking but audible. "I clean 18 rooms per shift. My hands hurt all the time from the chemicals and the repetitive motion. I have arthritis at 42 years old. I make $13 an hour. My rent is $1,650 for a 2-bedroom apartment I share with my 3 kids. After rent, utilities, food, and gas, I have maybe $200 left each month for everything else. Clothes, school supplies, medicine, unexpected costs. One car repair can destroy my budget for months." She wiped tears from her face. "Last year, my son broke his arm playing basketball. The emergency room bill was $3,800. I'm still paying it off at $50 a month. He needed physical therapy after, but I couldn't afford it, so now his arm doesn't bend right. He was a pitcher. That's over now, because I couldn't afford $600 in physical therapy for my kid." The reporters had gone silent. Even the most jaded journalists looked moved. "I'm not asking for charity," Sandra continued. "I work hard. I'm good at my job. I take pride in making rooms perfect for guests. I just want to be paid enough to survive. To not choose between my electric bill and my kids' physical therapy. To not lay awake at night doing math in my head, trying to figure out how to make $200 stretch across a month of impossible expenses." Elon pulled out his phone. "What's your son's name?" "Marcus, he's 14. Does he still want to play baseball?" Sandra nodded, crying harder. Elon typed rapidly. "He's getting physical therapy, starting this week. Best sports medicine doctors in Vegas. all covered. And Sandra, I can't hire you, you don't work for a property I own. But I can make your manager's life very uncomfortable if they don't start treating you better. He turned back to the cameras. This is bigger than one hotel. This is about an entire industry built on poverty wages, an entire economic model that depends on workers not being able to afford the services they provide. Think about that. The people who make Las Vegas run can't afford to enjoy Las Vegas. The people who clean luxury hotel rooms live 6 to an apartment. That's not a business model. That's exploitation. A reporter from the Wall Street Journal spoke up, his tone more critical. Mr. Musk, critics will say this is a PR stunt, that you're using workers' struggles to rehabilitate your own image after controversies with Tesla and Twitter. What do you say to that? Elon's expression hardened. I say follow the money. I'm putting $500 million behind these changes. I'm restructuring an entire company's labor model. I'm giving workers profit sharing and real benefits. That's not PR. That's resource allocation. If I wanted good PR, I'd donate to some charity and get my name on a building. This is harder, messier, and will make me enemies on every corporate board in America. But it's the right thing to do. Patricia's phone rang again. She answered, listened, and her expression shifted from concern to something like grim satisfaction. That was corporate again, she announced. Apparently, 3 other hotel chains just contacted them: Hilton, Marriott, and MGM. They're all asking about our wage increase announcement. They're worried about losing workers to us. Elon laughed, a genuine, delighted laugh. That's called market pressure. Competition works. If we're paying $22 an hour and they're paying $13, where are good workers going to go? They'll have to match us or watch their workforce exodus. That's how you change an industry, make being ethical the competitive advantage. Derek's phone buzzed with a text message. He read it and his eyes widened. Mr. Musk, you need to see this. He showed Elon his screen. It was a message from another night manager, this one at a Waldorf property in New York. The message read, "What you're doing is incredible. I've worked here 9 years. Same problems, same ignored reports. If you're serious about changing things everywhere, I have documentation. 3 years of maintenance requests, safety violations, worker complaints, all filed, all ignored. I'm ready to help." Within minutes, Derek's phone was flooded with similar messages. Night managers, housekeepers, maintenance workers from Waldorf properties across the country, all reaching out with their stories, their documentation, their hope that change was actually possible. "Forward those to me," Elon told Derek. "We're going to need that documentation for the board meeting, and for the lawsuit I'm probably going to file." "Lawsuit?" Patricia asked sharply. "If the board tries to block these changes, I'll sue them for breach of fiduciary duty. They have an obligation to maximize long-term shareholder value. I'll argue that sustainable labor practices do exactly that and their resistance is negligent." He smiled. "I have very good lawyers. Very expensive, very good lawyers." The press conference continued for another 40 minutes. More workers appeared, not just from Waldorf, but from hotels across the Strip. Security guards, kitchen staff, valets, all sharing stories of struggle and survival on poverty wages in one of America's wealthiest tourist destinations. Social media exploded. The hashtag #WaldorfRevolution was trending worldwide. Video clips circulated showing Maria crying while talking to her daughter, Sandra describing her son's injury, Derek explaining years of ignored safety reports. The narrative had completely shifted from entitled billionaire to workers finally heard. But not everyone was celebrating. On financial news networks, analysts were already predicting stock impacts. A CNBC host called the wage increases economically reckless. A Fox Business commentator warned of union exploitation of a PR moment. Conservative talk radio claimed Elon was going woke and betraying free market principles. Corporate executives watching from boardrooms across America felt a collective chill. If this caught on, if workers at other companies started demanding similar treatment, the entire low-wage service economy model could collapse, which was exactly what Elon was counting on. At 9:23 a.m., as the press conference wound down, a black town car pulled up. A woman in an expensive suit emerged. Alina Rothstein, chief legal counsel for Waldorf's parent company, Cascade Hospitality Group. She walked directly to Patricia. "You're fired," Elena said without preamble. "Effective immediately. Cascade is disavowing these announcements. Mr. Musk does not have authority to make unilateral operational decisions, regardless of his equity stake." Patricia stood frozen, 15 years of career progress evaporating in a sentence, but Elon stepped between them. "Check your contract with her. Section 12, Clause 4. Regional directors have operational authority for employee welfare and safety matters. Patricia has documentation showing these changes fall under that authority. Fire her, and you'll be settling a wrongful termination suit before lunch." Elena's jaw tightened. "Mr. Musk, you may own equity, but you don't control operations. The board serves at the pleasure of shareholders. I'm a shareholder, a significant one, and if you check the stock price right now," he pulled out his phone, showing a live ticker, "you'll see we're up 4% on this news. Investors like this story. They like companies that don't rely on exploiting workers. So before you start making threats, consider whether you want to be the villain in a story the whole world is watching." Elena Rothstein was not a woman easily intimidated. She'd spent 30 years in corporate law, crushing union efforts and defending companies against labor violations. But she was also smart enough to recognize when she was outmaneuvered. "This isn't over," she said. "The board will fight you on every single change." "Good," Elon replied. "I love a good fight, and I have unlimited resources and the moral high ground. How much does Cascade have?" Elena returned to her town car without another word. But everyone watching knew this was just the opening salvo. As the media finally started dispersing, Elon gathered his unlikely team: Patricia, Derek, Maria, James, Marcus, and now Sandra from the Bellagio in a quiet corner of the lobby. "They're going to come at us hard," he said. "Legal challenges, media campaigns, board maneuvers. They'll try to paint this as financially reckless, operationally impossible, even call it a publicity stunt. Are you all prepared for that?" "I've survived on $1,250 an hour for 6 years, Maria said quietly. "I can survive whatever they throw at us." "I've spent 15 years watching good people suffer," Derek added. "I'm not backing down now." Patricia took a deep breath. "I almost lost my job 10 minutes ago. I'm clearly already all in." James just nodded, his jaw set with determination. Elon smiled. "Then let's prove them all wrong. Let's show that you can be profitable and ethical, that taking care of workers is good business, that the system can change if people are brave enough to change it." His phone buzzed, a text from his assistant about the canceled CES presentation. Tech journalists were confused, disappointed, looking for comment. "Tell them I was busy starting a revolution," Elon replied to the text. Then to the group, "Now I have a promise to keep. Anyone want to come with me to visit a 12-year-old cancer patient who wants to talk about rockets?" They all raised their hands. As they walked toward the parking garage, toward whatever came next, the morning sun illuminated the Las Vegas Strip in all its contradictory glory: excess and poverty, luxury and struggle, dreams and reality existing side by side. But maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. The revolution had begun, and it had started with a denied hotel room. Sunrise Children's Hospital sat 15 minutes from the Waldorf Astoria, a sprawling complex of beige and blue buildings that tried hard to look cheerful and almost succeeded. Elon's convoy, now expanded to include Patricia's rental car, Derek's decade-old Honda Civic, and Maria riding with James in his pickup truck, pulled into the visitor parking lot at 10:17 a.m. They made an unlikely group walking through the hospital's main entrance: a tech billionaire in a wrinkled SpaceX t-shirt, a hotel executive in mismatched business casual, a former night manager still in his burgundy vest, a housekeeper in her uniform, and a maintenance supervisor with grease stains on his coveralls. The receptionist did a visible double-take. "We're here to see Kai Chen," Elon said. "Room 412. The receptionist checked her computer, then her eyes widened as recognition set in. "Mr. Musk, oh my God, yes, of course. I'll let the nurses know you're here. Kai has been so excited, he's barely slept." They took the elevator to the 4th floor, pediatric oncology. The hallway was decorated with colorful murals of space scenes: Rockets launching, planets orbiting, astronauts floating. Someone had gone to great effort to make a place of suffering feel hopeful. A nurse named Jennifer Park, no relation to James, met them outside room 412. She was in her early 30s with kind eyes that had seen too much loss. "He's awake and alert," she said softly. "The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. His parents are exhausted but holding it together. And I should warn you, he's very sick. The cancer has progressed aggressively. We're hoping the surgery can buy him time, but—" She trailed off, the unspoken words hanging heavy. Elon nodded, his usual confidence momentarily shaken. He'd faced down skeptical investors, hostile regulators, and public failures that cost billions. But a dying 12-year-old was different. This was real in a way that quarterly earnings could never be. "How long does he have?" Elon asked quietly. "If the surgery is successful and the cancer responds to treatment afterward, maybe 2 years. Maybe more, we've seen miracles. If it doesn't—" Jennifer's voice caught. "Weeks, maybe a month." Maria crossed herself, whispering a prayer in Spanish. "He knows?" Derek asked. "He knows. He's remarkably mature about it, more worried about his little sister and parents than himself." Jennifer wiped her eyes. "He's a special kid, which makes this all the more unfair." Elon took a deep breath, collecting himself. "Okay, let's not waste his time with sadness. He wanted to talk about rockets and Mars. That's what we're going to do." He pushed open the door. The room was standard hospital issue, beeping monitors, IV stands, generic artwork attempting cheerfulness. But every available surface was covered in space memorabilia. Model rockets lined the windowsill. NASA posters covered the walls. A laptop on the bedside table displayed a paused SpaceX launch video. And in the middle of it all, propped up on pillows, was Kai Chen. He was small for 12, the cancer and treatments having stolen what should have been a growth spurt year. His head was bald from chemotherapy, his skin pale and paper-thin. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, but when he saw Elon, those eyes lit up with a joy so pure it hurt to witness. "You came," Kai whispered, his voice weak but filled with wonder. "You actually came." "Of course I came. You sent me a message. I don't ignore messages from rocket enthusiasts." Elon crossed to the bed, pulling up a chair. "Sorry I'm late. Had an interesting night." Kai's parents stood. His mother, Lisa Chen, a petite woman with worry etched into every line of her face, and his father, David, a software engineer whose carefully maintained composure was clearly costing him everything. They recognized Elon immediately but seemed too overwhelmed to speak. "This is my friend Maria," Elon said, gesturing to the group that had followed him in. "She's a housekeeper at a hotel, and her daughter wants to be an aerospace engineer. This is Derek, who's going to make sure workers get treated fairly. James, who fixes things that are broken. He's going to fix a lot of things. And Patricia, who runs hotels but is learning to run them better." Kai looked confused by this eclectic group but was too polite to question it. His attention quickly returned to Elon. "I watched the Starship test yesterday," Kai said. "The flight was perfect until the valve malfunctioned. But you'll fix it, right? You always fix it." "We'll fix it. Failure is just data. Every rocket that doesn't make it to orbit teaches us something." Elon leaned forward. "You know what I learned from yesterday's test?" "What?" "That we need redundant fuel valves with independent monitoring systems. One point of failure took down an otherwise flawless launch. Can't let that happen when we're carrying humans to Mars." Kai's eyes widened. "When do you think the first crewed mission to Mars will launch?" 2029 if everything goes right. 2030 more realistically. Want to know a secret?" Elon lowered his voice conspiratorially. "We're designing the crew quarters right now. I could use input from someone who understands what astronauts will actually need." "Really?" Kai tried to sit up straighter, wincing from the pain but pushing through it. "What kind of input?" For the next 30 minutes, Elon and Kai discussed Mars mission architecture with the seriousness of colleagues rather than billionaire and dying child. Kai had done his homework. He understood Delta V requirements, transfer windows, ISRU propellant production. He'd studied radiation shielding challenges and had surprisingly sophisticated ideas about artificial gravity solutions. "You're thinking like an engineer," Elon said, genuinely impressed. "Have you designed any of this yourself?" Kai pointed to the laptop. I've been building simulations, basic stuff using free software I found online. Dad helped with some of the coding. I wanted to test different landing profiles for Starship on Mars. David Chen spoke for the first time, his voice thick with emotion. He spends hours on it. Even when he's too sick to get out of bed, he's running simulations. "Can I see?" Elon asked. Kai's face lit up despite his exhaustion. He pulled the laptop over, fingers trembling slightly as he navigated to his project files. What appeared on screen was crude by professional standards but showed genuine understanding of orbital mechanics and atmospheric entry dynamics. "This is good work," Elon said, scrolling through the code. "Really good. You're self-taught." "YouTube videos mostly, some online courses, Dad's programming books." Kai coughed, a wet rattling sound that made everyone in the room tense. He recovered, taking a sip of water. "I want to work for SpaceX someday. I want to help get humans to Mars." The unspoken truth hung in the air. Someday might never come for Kai. But Elon didn't acknowledge it. Instead, he pulled out his phone and made a call, putting it on speaker. "Yeah, it's me. I need you to send over the design specs for the Starship crew quarters. Level 3 clearance should be fine, because I'm consulting with a specialist. His name is Kai Chen, he's 12 years old, and he's smarter than half our engineers. I'm serious. Send the files to this email." He rattled off Kai's email address from memory, having noted it from the original message. "Also, send him access credentials for our simulation software. The professional stuff, not the public demo. I don't care about protocols, just do it." He ended the call. Kai stared at him, mouth open. "You'll have the files in about 20 minutes, Elon said casually. "Take a look, give me feedback. If you have ideas for improving the crew quarters, I want to hear them. Seriously." Kai started crying, not sad tears, but overwhelmed joy. His mother moved to comfort him, but he waved her off, wiping his eyes. "Sorry, I never thought anyone would actually listen to my ideas." "Why wouldn't I? Good ideas come from everywhere. Some of our best innovations at SpaceX came from interns and technicians, not senior engineers. Smart is smart, regardless of age or credentials." Elon glanced at the model rockets on the windowsill. "Did you build all those?" "Yeah, started when I was 8. I've launched 43 rockets, 38 successful flights, 5 failures. I keep a log with failure analysis for each one." He pointed to a binder on the shelf, stuffed with handwritten notes and diagrams. James Park walked over and picked up one of the models, a detailed replica of a SpaceX Falcon 9. "This is incredible craftsmanship. You did the paint job yourself." "Yeah, I wanted to get the details right. The grid fins, the landing legs, everything." "You ever think about engineering as a career? Not just aerospace, but mechanical engineering?" Kai's expression fell slightly. "I thought about it, but..." He gestured vaguely at his IV line, the monitors, the hospital room that had become his world. "Don't," Maria said suddenly, stepping forward. Everyone turned to look at her. She approached Kai's bed with the same determination she'd shown during the press conference. "Don't give up on your dreams because you're sick. My daughter, Isabella, she's your age. She wants to study engineering too. And until yesterday, I was telling her to be realistic, to think smaller, because I couldn't afford college." She pulled out her phone, showing Kai a picture of Isabella, a girl with Maria's eyes and a shy smile, holding a science fair trophy. "Last night, Mr. Musk promised her a full scholarship. 4 years, everything paid, and a job at SpaceX after graduation if she wants it, because he sees potential and doesn't let obstacles stop him from helping people reach it." Kai looked at Elon questioningly. "It's true," Elon confirmed. "And you know what else? Whether you make it to work for SpaceX in person or not, your ideas can still get to Mars. That simulation software I'm sending you, use it. Design systems, test theories, solve problems. Send me your results. If they're good, and I think they will be, they become part of the mission architecture. Your work goes to Mars even if you can't." The boy's breathing had become labored from excitement and emotion. Nurse Jennifer stepped in, checking monitors. "He needs to rest. The surgery tomorrow requires him to be as strong as possible." "Of course," Elon said, standing. "But before we go, I have something for you." He pulled out his phone again, this time opening his contacts and creating a new group chat. He added Kai's number, his own, and several others. This is a direct line to me, and some of the lead engineers at SpaceX. You have questions about Mars architecture, propulsion systems, life support, anything you ask here. Day or night, someone will answer. You're part of the team now." Kai looked at his phone screen, at his name listed alongside actual SpaceX engineers, and started crying again. "Thank you. You don't know what this means." "I think I do." Elon placed a hand on Kai's thin shoulder, feeling the boy's fragile bones beneath the hospital gown. "You asked me yesterday what I would change about the world if I could. I didn't have an answer then, but I've been thinking about it all night." He glanced back at Maria, Derek, James, Patricia, the unlikely team that had formed from a denied hotel room. "I'd make sure that people with potential get opportunities, regardless of their circumstances. I'd make sure hard work gets rewarded fairly. I'd make sure that being sick or poor doesn't mean giving up on dreams. I'd make sure the system works for everyone, not just the lucky ones born into the right situation." Kai processed this, his 12-year-old mind working through implications that most adults never considered. "But you can't change the whole world." "Maybe not, but I can change parts of it, starting with making sure your ideas get to Mars, and making sure Maria's daughter gets to help build the rockets that go there, and making sure workers who keep our civilization running can actually afford to live in that civilization." Elon smiled. "It's not everything, but it's something." David Chen finally found his voice, tears streaming down his face. "Mr. Musk, you didn't have to come here. You didn't have to do any of this. You're giving our son hope when we'd almost run out. Your son reminded me why I do what I do. It's easy to get lost in board meetings and quarterly targets and Twitter controversies. Kai reminded me that we're building rockets to inspire kids to dream bigger, to show humanity what's possible. That's worth more than any stock price." Lisa Chen was crying too. "The surgery tomorrow, the doctors give it a 60% success rate, and even if it works, the cancer might come back. We're trying to stay positive, but—" "I know," Elon said gently, "and I can't promise miracles, but I can promise that regardless of what happens, Kai's work will matter. His designs will be reviewed by real engineers. His ideas will be considered for real missions. And when humans set foot on Mars, Kai Chen will have contributed to making that happen. That's not nothing." Kai was fading, exhaustion overtaking excitement. His eyes kept drooping despite his efforts to stay alert. Nurse Jennifer adjusted his medication, preparing him for rest. "We should let him sleep," Patricia said softly. They filed toward the door, but Kai called out weakly, "Mr. Musk, can you promise me something?" "If I can. Promise you'll keep trying to get to Mars, even if it's hard, even if rockets explode and people say it's impossible. Promise you won't give up." Elon felt something crack in his chest, the protective layer of billionaire detachment, the armor that made it possible to risk billions on crazy dreams without being crushed by the weight of it. This 12-year-old boy dying in a hospital bed, worried about Elon giving up on Mars. "I promise," Elon said, his voice rough. "We're going to Mars, Kai, and when we get there, your name will be on the mission patch. That's my promise to you." I smiled, a real peaceful smile, and let his eyes close. They left the room in silence, the weight of the visit settling on them like a physical thing. In the hallway, Maria was openly sobbing. James stood with his back against the wall, staring at nothing. Derek had removed his glasses to wipe his eyes. Patricia looked shaken to her core. Nurse Jennifer followed them out, closing the door gently behind her. "That was kind of you," she said to Elon. "Most celebrities who visit sick kids come for photo ops. You actually treated him like a colleague." "He is a colleague, or will be if the universe has any justice." Elon leaned against the wall, suddenly looking every bit as exhausted as he was. "What are his real chances?" Jennifer glanced back at the closed door. "Honestly, the surgery tomorrow is high risk. There's significant chance of complications. Even if everything goes perfectly, this type of cancer has an 80% recurrence rate within 2 years, at his age with his overall health compromised." She trailed off, the statistics speaking for themselves. "But there's a chance. There's always a chance. We've seen miracles, medicine advances. Sometimes kids beat impossible odds." Jennifer smiled sadly. "But yes, you're right to give him something to fight for. Dreams matter, especially at the end." "It's not the end," Elon said firmly. "Not yet." They made their way back to the parking lot in heavy silence. The morning sun had climbed higher, Las Vegas heat already building toward another scorching day. The contrast between the air-conditioned hospital and the desert warmth felt like crossing between worlds. Derek spoke first. "I've been working in hospitality for 12 years. I thought I understood what mattered: guest satisfaction scores, operational efficiency, revenue targets. And then I spent one night with you and met a dying kid who just wants his ideas to matter. I feel like I've been sleepwalking through my career." "You haven't been sleepwalking," Elon said. "You've been surviving in a system designed to make you focus on metrics instead of meaning. That's what we're changing." Patricia checked her phone and winced. 53 missed calls from corporate, 29 emails from board members. The press is requesting follow-up interviews. Stock analysts are demanding financial projections for the labor changes. And Alina Rothstein sent a formal legal notice threatening to sue me personally if I implement any changes without board approval. "Forward the legal notice to me," Elon said. "My lawyers will respond. As for the rest, let them wait. We have more important things to do today." "Like what?" James asked. "Like keeping our promises. Maria, you're taking the day off work, full pay, obviously. Go home, hug your daughter, tell her that her dream is real. Derek, you're going to start documenting everything we discussed, every change we're implementing, every problem we're solving. Make it comprehensive. We need evidence for the board meeting. James, I want you to start evaluating equipment needs not just in Vegas but across all properties. Create a priority list. And Patricia," he turned to the executive who 12 hours ago had been on track for a comfortable career climbing the corporate ladder and now stood at the center of a labor revolution she hadn't asked for. "Patricia, you're going to write the business case for everything we're doing. Revenue projections, retention modeling, productivity analysis, customer satisfaction forecasting, everything. Make it bulletproof. Make it so compelling that even the most heartless board member can't deny that this is smart business." Patricia nodded slowly, her executive training kicking in despite the emotional whirlwind of the past 12 hours. "I can do that. I'll need access to data from properties that have implemented similar changes. I'll have my team send you case studies from companies that increased wages and saw productivity gains. Tesla, Costco, In-N-Out Burger will prove this works." Elon pulled out his phone, already typing emails. "We have 90 days to show results before the board can legally challenge us. 90 days to prove that human decency is profitable." Maria wiped her eyes, composure returning. "What about Kai? Is there anything we can do to help him?" "I'm making some calls. Best oncologists in the country. Experimental treatments being tested at Johns Hopkins and MD Anderson. Money isn't an object when it comes to giving that kid every possible chance." Elon's jaw set with determination. "And whether he makes it or not, we're keeping our promise. His work goes to Mars." They stood in the parking lot, this unlikely team bound together by a denied hotel room, a dying child, and a shared conviction that the world could be better if people with power actually gave a damn. Derek's phone buzzed. He read the message and looked up, surprised. "It's from Gerald Stephenson, the day manager I mentioned who pockets tips. He's requesting an emergency meeting with me. Says he needs to discuss operational concerns." "He heard about the changes and he's scared," Patricia said. "Probably worried his little side hustle is about to end." "Should I meet with him?" Derek asked. "Absolutely," Elon said. "Document everything. If he's stealing from workers, that ends now. And Derek, you're not night manager anymore, you're director of staff experience. You don't answer to Gerald, he answers to you." The power shift was just beginning to dawn on Derek. For 8 years, he'd been bottom of the management hierarchy, filing reports that got ignored, watching problems fester without authority to fix them. Now he outranked the people who dismissed his concerns. "This is going to be weird," Derek said. "This is going to be justice," Maria corrected. "How many workers did Gerald cheat? How many times did you report it and nothing happened? Now you get to fix it." Elon checked the time, 11:34 a.m. "I need to get to my actual hotel, shower, change clothes. I've been wearing this t-shirt for 36 hours and I'm pretty sure I smell like a combination of rocket fuel and hospital disinfectant. But we're meeting back here tonight. 7 p.m. Waldorf conference room. I want updates from everyone. What got done, what problems we hit, what we're tackling next. You're not going back to Texas, Patricia asked. Not until this is stable. I'm staying in Vegas. We're too close to the board trying to kill this. I need to be here to fight them. He grinned. Besides, I apparently own part of a hotel. Might as well use it. They dispersed to their various tasks, energy renewed despite the exhaustion. As Elon climbed into his rental car, he'd send his jet back without him. Another impulse decision that would confuse his schedulers. He pulled up his calendar. Meetings with Tesla executives about the Cybertruck production timeline, calls with SpaceX about the Starship investigation, a dozen other obligations for companies collectively worth hundreds of billions of dollars. He canceled everything. For the next week, maybe longer, his priority was a hotel in Las Vegas and the workers who made it run. The billionaires and analysts and shareholders could wait. A 12-year-old boy had asked him what he'd change about the world, and Elon had found his answer. Now came the hard part, actually changing it. He started the car and pulled out of the hospital parking lot, heading toward the Bellagio where his assistant had actually booked a room. As he drove down the Vegas Strip, past the Waldorf where this all began, past the crowds of tourists and workers and dreamers, he thought about Kai Chen lying in that hospital bed, fighting for a future he might not get to see. But his work would live on. His designs would reach Mars. His name would be on that mission patch. Because sometimes, keeping a promise to a dying child was more important than any quarterly earnings report. And sometimes, getting denied a hotel room was the best thing that could happen. The revolution was only beginning. September 16, 2024. The same Waldorf Astoria lobby where everything had started, but transformed in ways both visible and invisible. Elon Musk stood near the entrance at 6:47 p.m., watching the evening shift change with the satisfaction of an engineer who'd fixed a broken system. The lobby still gleamed with gold and marble, still radiated luxury, but something fundamental had shifted in the 6 months since that viral March night. The difference wasn't in the decor, it was in the people. Derek Holloway emerged from the staff hallway, no longer wearing a burgundy vest but a tailored suit that marked his elevation to Director of Staff Experience. He carried a tablet loaded with data, his exhaustion from that all-night shift replaced by the focused energy of someone doing work that actually mattered. "Evening numbers are looking good," Derek said, pulling up charts. Employee retention across all 37 Waldorf properties is now at 91%, up from 67% in March. Customer satisfaction scores have increased by 18 percentage points. Revenue per available room is up 12% despite the increased labor costs. Elon scanned the data, nodding with satisfaction. What's the feedback from other properties? Any resistance from local management? Some pushback initially. The Chicago property manager quit rather than implement the changes, said it was socialist nonsense. But we replaced him with someone from housekeeping who'd worked there 11 years. She knows the operation inside out and actually cares about the staff. Productivity increased 23% in her first month. The market rewarding competence over credentialism. Beautiful. Elon scrolled through more reports. What about Gerald Stephenson, the tip-stealing manager? Derek's expression hardened. Fired in April after we documented his theft. Turned out he'd been pocketing an average of $400 per week from pooled tips for 3 years. We reimbursed the affected workers from his severance package. $62,400 total distributed among 17 employees. Several cried when they got the checks. Criminal charges. He agreed to repayment and resignation in exchange for us not prosecuting. Honestly, getting him out was more important than sending him to jail, though I wouldn't have minded seeing him in handcuffs. Patricia Chen approached from the elevators, tablet in hand, looking dramatically different from the disheveled executive who'd arrived at 3 a.m. that March morning. She'd lost the corporate armor, the carefully maintained distance between management and workers. She still wore professional clothes, but her interactions with staff had transformed. First names instead of employee numbers, conversations instead of directives. "Board meeting starts in 13 minutes, Patricia said. They're gathering in the executive conference room. Alina Rothstein arrived 20 minutes ago with 4 lawyers. This is going to be contentious. Good, Elon said. I like contentious. Means we're doing something that matters. The emergency board meeting had been called by Cascade Hospitality Group's largest institutional investors, pension funds, and hedge funds that collectively owned 41% of the company. They wanted answers about the Musk reforms and their long-term viability. Some board members had been supportive. Others had fought every change, predicting financial disaster. 6 months of data would settle the argument. Maria Santos appeared next, transformed in ways that went beyond her professional attire. She wore a simple blue dress and carried herself with newfound confidence, the confidence of someone whose daughter was currently settling into her dorm room at MIT, whose financial stress had evaporated, who discovered that her voice actually mattered. Isabella called an hour ago, Maria said, her smile bright enough to light the lobby. She loves her roommate. Her first class is Introduction to Aerospace Engineering tomorrow at 9 a.m. She was so nervous she could barely speak, but excited, so excited. Elon grinned. Tell her the entire propulsion department is betting on whether she'll switch from aerospace to software engineering before sophomore year. I've got $500 on her sticking with aerospace. She'll stick with it. She's stubborn like her mother. Maria's eyes welled with tears she didn't bother hiding anymore. I still can't believe this is real. 6 months ago, I was cleaning toilets and couldn't afford shoes for my daughter. Now she's at MIT. Now I'm head of hospitality training making $67,000 a year. Now I have savings. Actual savings in a bank account. You were always worth that much, Elon said gently. The system was just too broken to recognize it. We didn't give you anything you didn't earn. We just stopped stealing it from you. James Park joined them, his maintenance coveralls replaced by business casual, an iPad under his arm displaying schematics and efficiency reports. As Chief of Facilities Innovation, he'd overseen $43 million in equipment upgrades across all properties, new laundry equipment, HVAC systems, kitchen appliances, safety equipment. Every repair request that had languished for years was now completed. All properties are now at 97% equipment functionality, James reported. We've reduced energy consumption by 18% through modern, efficient systems. Maintenance costs are actually down because we're fixing things right the first time instead of constantly patching failures. And worker injury rates have dropped by 41% due to proper safety equipment and ergonomic tools. The Chicago numbers, Elon asked. Even better after we replaced the old manager. Turns out when workers aren't fighting broken equipment and actually have the tools to do their jobs, productivity skyrockets. Who knew? James's sarcasm was gentle, earned through 15 years of submitting ignored maintenance requests. Marcus Williams approached in a new security uniform, still professional but notably higher quality than the old ones. As head of veteran hiring initiatives across the hotel chain, he'd recruited 47 former military personnel into security and facilities roles, bringing discipline and competence to departments that had suffered from high turnover. Security equipment upgrades are complete at all properties, Marcus reported. New radio systems, cameras covering all blind spots, panic buttons for staff in isolated areas. We haven't had a single serious security incident in 4 months. Employee safety complaints are down 92%. Elon checked his watch. 6:57 p.m. Board meeting in 3 minutes. Everyone ready? Are we presenting? Derek asked. You are, all of you. The board needs to hear directly from the people making this work, not just executives and consultants. They need to see that we're not running a charity, we're running a better business. Patricia looked nervous. Some of these board members are not friendly. Charles Westbrook has been calling this Musk's socialist experiment in investor calls. He's predicted total failure since day one. Then watching him eat those words will be especially satisfying. Elon started toward the executive conference room. Come on, time to prove that human decency is profitable. The executive conference room occupied the penthouse level, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Las Vegas Strip. 15 board members sat around a massive mahogany table, most in expensive suits, all wearing expressions ranging from skepticism to outright hostility. Alina Rothstein sat with her legal team, documents stacked like ammunition. Charles Westbrook, silver-haired, 63, chairman of a private equity firm that owned 8% of Cascade, glared at Elon as they entered. "You're late. By 90 seconds. I'll try to contain my guilt." Elon took a seat at the head of the table without being invited, a power move that made several board members bristle. His team arranged themselves along the sides, workers and managers together, presenting a unified front. Westbrook didn't waste time. "This emergency session was called to address the unsustainable labor model you forced upon this company, Mr. Musk. In 6 months, you've increased our labor costs by $127 million annually. You've implemented programs that benefit workers at shareholder expense. You've bypassed proper corporate governance. And you've done it all with viral videos and publicity stunts instead of sound business analysis." "Are you finished?" Elon asked mildly. "No. I'm recommending we reverse all changes immediately, return to the previous operational model, and pursue legal action against you for exceeding your authority as a minority shareholder." "Interesting. Patricia, pull up the Q2 earnings report." Patricia tapped her tablet, and the room's display screen lit up with financial data. Revenue, profit margins, stock performance, all tracking upward. "Revenue is up 14% year-over-year, Patricia said, her voice steady despite facing down some of the most powerful investors in hospitality. "Profit margins have increased by 3.2 percentage points despite higher labor costs. Our stock price has risen 29% since March. Customer satisfaction scores are the highest in company history. We're outperforming every major competitor." Westbrook scowled. "Short-term gains don't prove long-term viability. You're riding publicity from a viral moment. It won't last." "Derek, show them the retention data," Elon said. Derek stood, projecting confidence he'd spent years building in night shift trenches. "Employee retention is 91% across all properties, up from 67%. Recruitment costs are down $83 million because we're not constantly hiring replacements. Training costs are down $67 million because experienced workers stay instead of churning. Productivity per worker hour is up 19% because people who can afford to live don't spend their shifts stressed about rent." He advanced to the next slide, comparative data from other hotel chains. Hilton, Marriott, and MGM all announced wage increases within 2 months of our changes. They were losing workers to us. The industry standard is shifting because we proved higher wages work. We didn't just improve our company, we improved the entire labor market. A board member named Susan Yee, CFO of a major insurance company and generally sympathetic to the reforms, spoke up. "What about the profit-sharing program? That's essentially giving away shareholder value." James Park answered, pulling up his own presentation. "The profit-sharing program costs $114 million annually, but it's generated $278 million in value through reduced turnover, increased productivity, and improved service quality. Workers who share in profits care about the bottom line. They reduce waste, improve efficiency, and deliver better customer experiences. Return on investment is 244%. Alina Rothstein shuffled papers. "These numbers are convenient, but they don't address fundamental legal questions. Mr. Musk doesn't have authority to unilaterally restructure labor practices. Regional directors like Ms. Chen don't have authority to commit to multi-million-dollar expenditures without board approval. Everything you've done is technically illegal under corporate bylaws. Technically legal under Section 12, Clause 4 of Regional Director Contracts, which grants operational authority for employee welfare and safety," Elon countered. "We documented safety hazards, equipment failures, and working conditions that violated OSHA standards. Patricia had not just the authority but the obligation to address them. The wage increases and benefits were implemented as part of comprehensive safety improvements." That's a creative interpretation. It's a legally defensible interpretation that your own lawyers acknowledged in the May 3rd internal memo, which I have a copy of. Elon pulled out his phone, displaying the document. Your legal team concluded we operated within authority. You're only challenging it now because you don't like the results." Westbrook slammed his hand on the table. "The results are unsustainable. You can't run a business by catering to workers' every demand. Competition requires cost efficiency. You've made us vulnerable." "To what?" Maria interrupted, her voice sharp enough to cut through Westbrook's bluster. Every eye turned to her, a former housekeeper addressing billionaire board members. "Vulnerable to having workers who care about their jobs. Vulnerable to customers giving us 5-star reviews. Vulnerable to making record profits." Westbrook stared at her. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Maria Santos. I cleaned your room last time you stayed here, Mr. Westbrook. April 14th, room 2847. You left your wet towels on the floor and didn't tip." Her smile was knife-sharp. "I was making $1,250 an hour then. Couldn't afford health insurance. Couldn't afford to send my daughter to college. Couldn't afford to have a life outside work. And you're sitting here saying paying me fairly is unsustainable." "That's not I didn't mean." "I know exactly what you meant. You meant workers are expenses to minimize, that we're interchangeable parts in a profit machine, that keeping us desperate keeps us compliant." Maria's composure cracked slightly, passion breaking through. "But you know what? Happy workers are productive workers. I train new housekeepers now. I teach them to take pride in their work. And they stay because they're paid fairly and treated with dignity. That's not unsustainable. That's smart business." The room had gone silent. Several board members looked uncomfortable. Susan Yee was nodding. Even Westbrook seemed momentarily at a loss. Elon let the silence sit for a moment before speaking. "Let me make something very clear. I didn't implement these changes to be nice. I'm not running a charity. I did it because the previous model was failing. 67% turnover is a failed system. Workers who can't afford rent in the cities where they work is a failed system. Ignoring maintenance until equipment catastrophically fails is a failed system." He stood, commanding the room with the same presence he brought to Tesla shareholder meetings and SpaceX launch control. "I fixed a broken system using basic engineering principles. Identify failure points, implement solutions, measure results, iterate. The failure points were compensation, working conditions, and respect for workers. The solutions were higher wages, better equipment, and actual investment in human capital. The results," he gestured at the screens displaying profit increases, customer satisfaction, and retention data, "speak for themselves. If you reverse these changes, you'll return to a broken system. Retention will drop, productivity will fall, service quality will decline, stock price will tank, and you'll be doing it while I publicly explain to shareholders exactly why you're destroying value." His smile was predatory. "How do you think that proxy fight goes?" Westbrook found his voice. "You're threatening us." "I'm promising you. I own 12% of this company directly and control another 8% through investment vehicles. I can make your lives very uncomfortable if you try to undo work that's objectively succeeding. Or," his tone softened slightly, "you can accept that we've found a better way to run this business and support its expansion." Another board member, Richard Chen, no relation to Patricia, spoke up. He was younger than most, a tech entrepreneur who'd built and sold a successful startup. "I've reviewed the data extensively. Everything Musk is claiming checks out. We're more profitable, more efficient, and more competitive than before the reforms. I don't care about the ideology, I care about returns. And the returns are excellent." "Agreed," Susan Yee added. "I was skeptical initially, but 6 months of data is convincing. We should be expanding these practices, not reversing them." The tide was shifting. Other board members murmured agreement, reviewing their own tablets and finding the same story in the numbers. Westbrook and Alina Rothstein were losing the room. "There's one more thing you should know," Elon said. "Remember why I was at this hotel that night in March? I was visiting a 12-year-old cancer patient named Kai Chen. He asked me what I'd change about the world if I could. This," he gestured around the room at Maria and Derek and James and Marcus, "this is my answer. Making sure hard work is rewarded. Making sure people have opportunities regardless of their circumstances. Making sure the system works for everyone." He pulled out his phone, displaying a photo. "This is Kai now." The image showed a thin but smiling boy, still bald from treatment but with color back in his cheeks, sitting at a computer workstation covered in rocket models and engineering diagrams. His surgery was successful. The cancer is in remission. He's been using SpaceX simulation software to design life support systems for Mars missions. His work is genuinely innovative. We're incorporating 3 of his designs into our actual development program. In 10 years, when humans land on Mars, technology developed by a kid who was supposed to die will help keep them alive. Maria wiped her eyes. Even some of the board members looked moved. You want to know what's unsustainable? Elon continued. Wasting human potential. Kai almost died before anyone took his ideas seriously. Maria's daughter almost missed her chance at MIT because her mother couldn't afford it despite working 50-hour weeks. Derek spent years filing safety reports that got ignored. James has a Stanford engineering degree and was fixing broken toilets because the 2008 recession trapped him in a job he was overqualified for. He let that sink in. We're not just running hotels better. We're building a model that recognizes human potential instead of wasting it. And yes, it's profitable, but more importantly, it's right. Those 2 things aren't mutually exclusive, they're actually aligned. The previous model was both unethical and inefficient. We fixed both problems simultaneously. Westbrook made one last attempt. This is corporate governance run by emotion instead of analysis. You can't make business decisions based on feel-good stories. The analysis supports the decision, Richard Chen interrupted. We've reviewed it extensively. The ROI is clear. You're opposing this because you don't like being proven wrong, Charles, not because the data doesn't support it. I agree, Susan Yi said. I move we formally adopt the current labor practices as company standard and expand them to all properties globally, not just North America. Second, Richard Chen said immediately. Westbrook looked around the table, reading the room, and realized he'd lost. This is a mistake. When the economy shifts, when competition increases, you'll regret tying our hands with these expensive programs. Noted for the record, Susan Yi said. All in favor of adopting current practices as company standard. 12 hands went up. Only Westbrook, Elena Rothstein, and one other board member abstained. Motion passes, Susan declared. The reforms stand and expand globally. Elon didn't gloat, though he wanted to. Instead, he nodded respectfully. Thank you, you won't regret this. Patricia, Derek, James, Marcus, Maria, thank you for your presentations. Excellent work. As the board meeting concluded and members filed out, Westbrook made a point of stopping in front of Elon. You got your way today, but don't mistake a good quarter for a permanent solution. The market is ruthless. Eventually, this idealism will cost you. I've been told electric cars would never work, that reusable rockets were fantasy, that private space companies couldn't compete with governments. I've built my entire career on proving conventional wisdom wrong. Elon smiled. But hey, if you're so confident I'm wrong, you're welcome to short the stock. Put your money where your mouth is. Westbrook stalked off without responding. Susan Yi approached instead, extending her hand. That was impressive. I've sat through 1,000 board meetings. I've never seen anyone defend labor rights with profit margins before. It's usually one or the other. That's the problem with modern capitalism, Elon said, shaking her hand. We've been taught they're opposed when they're actually complementary. Happy workers are productive. Productive workers generate profits. It's not complicated. Tell that to every MBA program in America. Susan glanced at her tablet. I'd like to discuss expanding some of these principles to other industries. I sit on 3 other boards. They could all benefit from this model. I'm available. Fair warning, I'm terrible at corporate politics and will probably offend people. Good, corporate politics is how we got into this mess. Let me know when you're free. As the board members dispersed, Elon's team gathered around him. No longer workers and managers, but colleagues who'd built something meaningful together. We did it, Derek said, disbelief coloring his voice. We actually did it. The reforms are permanent and expanding globally. You did it, Elon corrected. I just provided resources and ran interference with the board. You all did the actual work of proving this could succeed. What happens now? Maria asked. Now we keep our promises. Isabella thrives at MIT. Kai keeps designing Mars systems. We expand these practices to all 127 Waldorf properties worldwide. We prove that this model works so comprehensively that other companies have no choice but to follow. Elon checked his phone. Messages were flooding in from the press about the board decision. And we deal with the media circus that's about to happen. Patricia's phone rang. She answered, listened, and smiled. That was corporate communications. The board decision leaked, probably Susan or Richard calling their investors. Stock is up another 4% in after-hours trading. Investors love this. Of course they do. We just proved that ethical business practices are profitable. That's the best news they could get. Elon headed toward the elevator. Come on. I promised Kai I'd video chat with him tonight. He's been working on some propulsion efficiency calculations I want to review. They rode the elevator down to the lobby. This unlikely team that had formed from a denied hotel room and late-night conversations about broken systems. The lobby was busy with evening check-ins, guests streaming through, workers moving efficiently through their tasks. But now when Elon watched, he saw different things. He saw housekeepers who could afford rent, security guards with working equipment, maintenance workers using modern tools, front desk agents who stayed in their jobs because they were paid fairly. He saw a system that worked. There's one more promise I need to keep tonight, Elon said as they reached the lobby. Derek, you still work night shifts sometimes, right? Once a week. Keeps me connected to how things actually run. You working tonight? Yeah, I'm on at 11. Good, because I have a reservation, confirmation number and everything this time. Elon pulled out his phone, showing the booking. Room 2847, used to be Westbrook's favorite. I had Patricia assign it to me. Derek laughed, a genuine, exhausted, triumphant laugh. You're actually staying here after everything. I own part of this hotel. Might as well use it. Elon grinned. Plus, I want to experience the full reformed Waldorf treatment. See if our service quality lives up to the customer satisfaction scores. It will, Maria said confidently. I trained half the housekeeping staff personally. Your room will be perfect. They stood together in the lobby as evening transitioned to night, the Vegas Strip lighting up outside, the hotel humming with life and purpose. 6 months ago, this had been a place where workers struggled and systems failed. Now it was proof that change was possible when people with power actually cared. Marcus checked his watch. I should start my shift. Security briefing in 10 minutes. I need to call Isabella before she goes to bed, Maria said. She wants to tell me about her roommate and her schedule. I have maintenance reports to review, James added. The Hong Kong property is implementing our safety upgrades next week. I want to make sure the specifications are correct. They dispersed to their various responsibilities, leaving Elon and Derek alone in the lobby. Thank you, Derek said quietly, for all of this, for seeing us that night, for listening, for actually following through instead of just making empty promises. Thank you for doing your job with integrity even when it would have been easier to break the rules. If you'd given me a room that night because I claimed to own part of the building, none of this would have happened. Elon extended his hand. Sometimes the right thing and the convenient thing are opposites. You chose right. Derek shook his hand, then pulled Elon into an unexpected hug. I spent 8 years filing reports that went nowhere, watching good people suffer, feeling helpless. You gave me the power to actually fix things. That's worth more than any salary. When Derek pulled back, he was wiping his eyes, not bothering to hide the emotion. Speaking of salary, Elon said, you're getting a raise. Director of Staff Experience for Global Operations, effective immediately. $145,000 plus performance bonuses tied to retention metrics. You're overseeing 127 properties and 8,000 workers. You've earned it. Derek started to protest, then stopped himself, accepting the recognition with simple grace. Thank you, I'll keep earning it. Elon's phone buzzed, a video call from Kai. He answered immediately. Kai's face appeared on screen, still thin but undeniably healthier than 6 months ago. Behind him, his bedroom walls were covered in SpaceX posters and engineering diagrams. Mr. Musk, I finished the life support redundancy calculations. I think I found a way to reduce oxygen recycling system mass by 18% without compromising reliability. Elon's fatigue evaporated, replaced by genuine excitement. Show me. For the next 40 minutes, Elon sat in the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria, Las Vegas, the site of his accidental revolution, discussing Mars mission architecture with a 12-year-old cancer survivor who'd been given a second chance at life and was using it to help humanity reach another planet. Derek checked in guests, handled problems, managed the night shift with the quiet competence that had served him well for years and would now serve thousands of workers globally. Maria called her daughter at MIT, both of them crying happy tears about first-day experiences and future possibilities. James reviewed safety specifications that would protect workers across 5 continents. Patricia compiled reports that would convince other companies that ethical business practices were both right and profitable. And somewhere in Henderson, Nevada, Kai's little sister watched her brother talking with Elon Musk about rockets and dreamed her own big dreams, no longer constrained by poverty or low expectations. The story had started with a denied hotel room. It ended, or rather continued, with a promise kept, a system fixed, and proof that the world could change when people stopped accepting broken as normal. Elon finally ended the video call with Kai, promising to review the calculations in detail and send feedback by tomorrow. He looked around the lobby one last time, seeing not gold and marble but people and purpose. Room 2847, he said to Derek at the front desk, presenting his confirmation number with exaggerated formality. Derek played along, checking the system with mock seriousness. "Ah yes, Mr. Musk, we have your reservation." "Welcome to the Waldorf Astoria. I hope you enjoy your stay." "I already am," Elon replied. And as he took the elevator up to a room in a hotel he'd stumbled into by accident 6 months ago, he thought about the chain of events that had led here. A wrong reservation, an exhausted night manager following protocol, a viral video, a dying child asking the right question, and a system so obviously broken that fixing it became inevitable once someone with resources actually paid attention. The elevator doors opened on the 28th floor. Elon walked down the hallway to room 2847, unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room was perfect. Spotless, well-maintained, every detail attended to with care by workers who were paid fairly and treated with dignity. On the desk sat a handwritten note from Maria. "Welcome home. We're glad you finally got a room." Elon smiled, set down his bag and walked to the window. The Las Vegas Strip stretched out below, glittering and excessive and beautiful and broken and perfect all at once. Somewhere in that sprawl, workers were finishing shifts and going home to families they could actually afford to support. Somewhere, students dreamed of colleges they might actually attend. Somewhere, broken systems were being fixed because people refused to accept that broken was inevitable. Revolution that started with a denied hotel room was spreading to other properties, other companies, other industries. Not because of viral videos or billionaire activism, but because the data proved it worked. Because profit and ethics weren't enemies but allies. Because human potential, when recognized and supported, generated value for everyone. Elon pulled out his phone and sent a text to his team. "Board meeting went well. Reforms are permanent and expanding. We did good work today. Get some rest. Tomorrow we do more." Then he called down to room service. Not because he was hungry, but because he wanted to see if the reformed Waldorf service lived up to the metrics. It did. The revolution was no longer beginning. It was here. And it had all started because one night manager named Derek Holloway refused to break the rules for anyone, even a billionaire who owned part of the building. Sometimes, the best things in life happen when plans fall apart. Sometimes, getting denied a hotel room changes everything. That was the end of this remarkable journey, from a denied hotel room at midnight to a global revolution in worker treatment. One moment of following protocol, one billionaire who chose to listen instead of complain, and thousands of lives changed forever. We'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop your location in the comments below. If this inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true tales that will move you, motivate you, and remind you that change is possible when people choose to care. And here's the most important part. Share this video with your friends and family. Spread the message that treating people with dignity isn't just right, it's smart. That human potential matters more than quarterly profits. That sometimes the best things happen when plans fall apart. Let's spread kindness and awareness together. One share, one conversation, one changed perspective at a time. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.